World champion. My best moment from last year, it was winning the manufacturer series. Oh, my favorite food, kind of Japanese food, donburi, ramen, stuff like that. Really good. Addiction, probably skateboarding. The first half, of course, was in lockdown, so I was doing a lot of sim racing. Then the real season started in FIA. On the other hand, I added a lot of experience, so I hope that I can connect well for next year and do better, basically.
食べる、寝る、遊ぶです。日本の国分良太です。このような状況なのであまりいい年とは言えませんでした。こういった形で大会を開催していただけることに
I don't really like to compare myself to the other competitor, but I would like to say I'm French, I love baguette, and I try to be the fastest baguette on GT. My name is Baptiste Beauvoir, I'm 24 years old, I'm French and the rare drivers tomorrow. My favorite GT car is Bentley Speed 8. My favorite GT track is Willow Springs. The person who inspired me the most is Sebastian Loeb by his crazy driving style. If I was an animal, I would like to be an orc. My goals for this year is
probably skateboarding. The first half, of course, was in lockdown, so I was doing a lot of sim racing. Then the real season started in FIF3. It got quite busy, and just now that the season finished, I'm starting to focus back again in sim racing. For me, I missed most the contact that I had with the organization, with the players. You know, at the end we were quite like a family, so we really miss everything that includes
遊ぶです。日本の国分良太です。このような状況なのであまりいい年とは言えませんでした。こういった形で大会を開催していただけることに感謝し、精一杯頑張りたいと思います。私は他の人と比べるようなことはあまりしていません。世界各国の選手たちと会えないことや、会場独特の雰囲気を味わえないことです。グランツーリスモです。子供から大人まで幅広い年齢層の方々が楽しめるレースゲームであり、なおかつ様々なカテゴリーの車がレースをできる点です。これからどんどん盛り上がっていったらいいなと思っています。空を飛ぶ能力が欲しいなと思います。こんな私ですが、応援してくださっている方々に感謝し、精一杯頑張りたいと思います。
up the inside, they're side by side. He's up the inside, he's so close, he's pushing it wide. Side by side they come, tries to muscle him out, it was mightily close. Breathing down his neck, trying to find his way past. He has the tightest advantage. Spins, he loses out. As we come up to the final lap of racing here. A Nations Cup final, we have Lopez defensive. Frogger tries the long way round. Big drama! And it's going to be absolutely amazing. What a Nations Cup final we have.
Hello viewers and welcome to the FIA certified Gran Turismo World Finals 2020. Yes, we are day 2 in the midst of 3 days of some of the best racing you'll ever see. This is our year-end Gran Turismo celebration you've just walked in on. It's going to be amazing, trust me. Tomorrow, we're going to be having the Nations Cup, which is kind of the big one. Today is all about the Manufacturers Series, but yesterday was the GR Supra GT Cup. And if you missed out on any of that action, you need to watch it. Take a look at this.
Cheers, Julia. Yeah, let's take a look, shall we, at some highlights then from the Toyota GR Supra GT Cup. Then this was the grand final yesterday. Jose Serrano leading the field at the start of the race. Got a bit spicier in the mid-stages, though.
Yeah, a bit quiet up until here. Here was Benelli and Miyazono having a fight over second place at the time. Miyazono on the harder compound tyre, but had no choice but to let Benelli through. This is where the race really changed. Serrano pitted in, had to take fuel, and Miyazono took the place up into the lead.
Yep, he was into the lead. Jose Serrano back down to third position. Lucas Benelli inheriting second. Miyazono taking the win overall in the race, and as a result, he became the 2020 World Champion in the Toyota GR Supra GT Cup as well.
Takuma Miyazono, honestly, I was trying so hard yesterday to get him to just be like, yeah, I'm just going to go and win, because he's just been smashing it so much recently, and even then he's still unbelievably humble. But he is now the master strategist. I'm going to get Tom and Jimmy start saying this. It's going to be a new thing, definitely. He's definitely one to watch out for in the future. But I suppose it's really important to start talking about the Manufacturers Series, as that's what today is all about. And it'd be good to kind of get like a little bit of an overview. But I thought I would just kind of hit you with a little bit of why the Manufacturers Series is just so important and such a kind of jewel in the Gran Turismo crown. It's because basically all of these competitors who come from all over the world now have to work together as a team. You know, they're used to kind of fighting each other, like on the track, battling it out, trying to win, trying to be the best, but they basically have to kind of form together as a team and go on and win. And honestly, we have seen some fantastic stuff in the Manufacturers Series over the years. And if you've missed any of that, why don't you take a look at this?
The Manufacturers Series, as part of the FIA Gran Turismo Championships, is essentially a team sport. It involves all of the drivers. Unlike the Nations Cup, where all the drivers are competing for individual glory, this time it's a team sport. Drivers competing for manufacturers, working together. In 2018, it was Lexus who were the team that dominated things in the World Finals in Monaco.
Lexus, while all this is going on, are the FIA GT World Final Champions in the Manufacturers Series.
A year later, despite their best efforts to try and retain the title, it went the way of their fellow Japanese marque, Toyota.
Toyota, 21 races, 6 World Tour events, and they are Manufacturers Series champions of the world!
In Sydney, though, things turned once again. BMW, the German manufacturer, ending up on top. They have a good advantage going into the World Final in 2020.
And that's it. BMW and Coque Lopez will take the first win of the year here in the World Tour at Sydney. Across the line they go.
But is that going to be enough for them to sit at the top of the table this year?
So you are all caught up with the past 3 years of just what's been going on with the Manufacturers Series. So when you watch all of the races today, you can fully get all the gossip and then the sensation behind it all. So you can enjoy it all the more. I mean, that's really what it's all about. So as I was saying, we've got 36 drivers on our drivers grid, as you can see here. And yeah, so like part of my job today is going to be catching up with them, having a chat with them when they win, and just, you know, taking in their race faces a little bit as well. I'm still quite enjoying that. There, obviously, our 36 drivers come from all over the world, so we can actually give you a graphic of exactly where they are racing from today. in their teams, working together. It really is a global production here at Gran Turismo. And speaking of global production, you can actually watch this stream in 7 different languages. So, you know, obviously, if you like to watch in Spanish, you can totally watch it in Spanish. Perhaps you're just learning some French and you'd like to practice. You can completely watch the stream in French should you want to, as our whole GT family is ready and waiting to commentate on today's races. Now, before we get the Manufacturer Series kicked off, I just want to chuck a quick question into chat for you, which is, who's going to win? Who's going to take first, second and third today? Be the smartest person in chat. Post it now and then reap the chat glory later on when you guess it right. We'd love to know what you think. I'm going to stop talking now. I think it's time that we get the Manufacturer Series underway. You know what? And I'm going to throw it to Tom and Jimmy. Here you go, guys.
Cheers, Julia. Yeah, welcome to the Manufacturer Series for the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships. My name's Tom Brooks, alongside me as ever, JB, Jimmy Broadbent. Jimmy, I mean, Manufacturer Series, we like this one, of course, because of its team element. It's not drivers competing for individual glory. They're looking out for each other.
It's always been my favourite series, this one, just because of that, the variety. It isn't just one fast driver, it's a proper team effort. And if you're the weak link, then you're going to get a bit of a shouting at by your teammates. And we've seen that before as well, so hopefully none of that this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Slightly different format, though, to what we're used to seeing in our World Tour. No 3 drivers in the final race, we've just got 1 driver competing. Let's have a look at the competition format. So you can see 12 teams in the Manufacturer Series, the official partner teams being Toyota and Mazda also competing. The teams will compete for points in all 3 of the races. There'll be 1 driver per race. The same competitor may not enter more than 1 race there as well. So it's worth mentioning that. You can see the point standings there. Races 1 and 2, 12 points down to 1 for 10th. The grand final being double points on this occasion as well. And of course, we will be crowning our Manufacturer Series World Champion in 2020.
I love the fireworks there, man. That's so good. Fantastic. And of course, BMW, they're the guys leading right now. Remember Sydney? A long time ago, wasn't it? But they won that, the Manufacturer Series back then. So they're leading with 3 points, with Team Porsche on 2 and everybody else on 0. So a small advantage going in to the finals, but that might make all the difference.
So the 2020 Manufacturer Series then, a lineup that is pretty stacked in terms of talent. But let's not forget, of course, we've got our 2019 and 2018 Nations Cup World Champions, Mikael Hazal and Igor Fraga on the grid.
Tell you what, that's a bit of pressure, isn't it? But not to say, of course, the drivers also involved. Some of the best we have in their regions right here. Look at the list of names. Gallo, Kokeman, Brooks, Bukowski and Bonelli.
Yeah, Lucas Bonelli, a driver right at the bottom there, driving for Mercedes-Benz, the winner of the Central and South America region, who we've got to know a little better recently.
Eu trocaria de vida com o Lewis Hamilton, porque é meio óbvio, né? Ele é o maior de todos hoje. Bom, meu nome é Lucas Bonelli, eu sou de São Paulo, Brasil, meu time é o TGT Team Gran Turismo. Se eu fosse me descrever em 3 palavras, seria veloz, arrojado, alta concentração, robótico. O único no Gran Turismo é alta competitividade, o número de players, tudo muito próximo. Meu melhor momento, com certeza, foi a viagem de Tóquio para o Japão em outubro do ano passado, há 1 ano atrás. Conhecer o Japão era uma coisa que superou muito as expectativas. Meu carro favorito é Mercedes-Benz AMG. Minha pista favorita do GT é Spa-Francorchamps. Se eu tivesse a máquina do tempo, eu iria para o início dos anos 2000, aqui no Brasil mesmo, continuar jogando Gran Turismo 2, que foi o meu primeiro Gran Turismo. Japonês. Minha comida favorita é japonês. Se eu tivesse superpoderes, seria teletransporte. Bom, meus objetivos é conquistar um pódio ou um campeonato nas séries online que vão ter no final desse ano. Com isso é o meu maior objetivo.
Well, nice to find out a little bit more about Lucas Bonelli, driver who's got to be on our radar today.
100% one to watch. Look out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, racing action is coming up in just a few moments' time, but not before the GT anthem. Well, if the GT anthem didn't get you pumped up for racing, I'm not quite sure what's going to with these boys. Anyway, race 1 coming along the way in a few moments' time, but let's take a closer look, shall we, at exactly where we're going to be racing ahead of the Manufacturer Series. We're back at Sardegna, once again, one of our favourite tracks to use in the FIA GT Championships, and a favourite amongst the drivers for good reason as well.
Yeah, good overtaking spots around here. Of course, it's been host to a little bit of drama in the past as well, at T15 all the way back in one of our World Tour events at Germany. As you can see, 15 laps around here in the Group 3 cars. Racing soft and medium tyres both have to be used at least once around here. So a little bit of strategy involved, but the name of the game basically is stay on the softs.
Yeah, absolutely right there. So, one thing to mention to you, of course, is that we've got some manufacturers that we're keeping an eye on over the course of this one as well, based on their previous form, based on their previous performances. BMW being the first one that we're going to have a quick look at here. These guys, of course, won the World Tour back in Sydney earlier in February this year. They've had 3 podiums in total, and as you can see, relatively good chance of getting a podium there. Yeah,
and someone else we're keeping an eye on right now is Team Porsche. They last won all the way back in Tokyo. Feels like a long time ago now, of course, but I remember that very well because my voice didn't work afterwards. We reckon about the same chance of being on the podium. 3 podiums in total so far, so always a strong contender.
Well, the driver's out on track for qualifying then. Let's pick it up with a few minutes to go and see what's going to go down. Qualifying then underway here at the Sardegna circuit for the Manufacturer Series for the FIA GT Championships, and here is Subaru out on their laps. The first group have already been out to set their flying lap times. We can see that Ford currently sits at the top of the pile from Lamborghini, Honda, BMW, Mazda and Volkswagen. But this is the second group here. This is Subaru, very strong driver lineup that they have. Jimmy, what do you reckon?
Danny Solis in the car at the moment for this first race, and I reckon this could be a good time for Subaru. Their team made up, of course, of Danny Solis, Takuma Miyazono, and 2019 Nations Cup champion Mikao Hazal. Great to have him back, by the way. I haven't seen him for a while, have we? He's been busy with his studies and various other things. Great to have him back racing. But of course, we start here, first race and the first qualifying session. Time to beat currently a 1:38.9 set by Ford. That was Kato who put that lap in a bit earlier on. Let's see what the Subaru guys can do, if they can beat that out lap right now, of course. They're just warming up to it and getting ready for that flying lap. This last section, this Group 3 car is quite scary, actually. We're on board now, you're going to get a chance to see it. In the X2019 that we've driven around here before, it's been quite easy, but not so much in the Group 3 cars.
No, certainly not. We've got Steve, Super GT, on the other side as well to offer a bit of analysis. Steve, of course, this is a one-shot qualifying system for these drivers. What do you think's going through their mind here now they've seen the first group go out for these guys?
Cheers, Tom. Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, it's very difficult. One-shot qualifying, obviously, you only have that one lap. You have to hook it all up. I think it's really a case of just focusing on yourself. You probably don't want to be looking at the other times too much. You just try and nail the braking points, trying to nail the acceleration points the best you can. Just try to nail the lap that you know you can do and hope that it's enough to get a good qualifying position.
Well, you're right there, Steve. Thanks very much indeed for your input. Nice to chat to you and hear from you. So here's Subaru then on their first fly and only flying lap then in this session. Of course, all the drivers on soft compound of tyres, and you can see the circuit, it's kind of it's square in shape really more than anything, but I'm trying to simplify it a little bit here. What are you laughing at?
The circuit is square.
It is. It's an anti-clockwise square.
It's an odd one. It's sort of it's a street circuit basically, apart from the first straight. You make a mistake, you end up in the barrier, which I've been told isn't fast, despite trying it many times myself inadvertently. There's Danny Solis. Oh, just a couple of sparks there being picked up by the Armco as he scrapes the wing on there. Here is Toyota. That is Cy Bishop in that car, the Kiwi driver. Never really been a qualifier, has Cy, but I say that right now he's actually up on Ford's best time. We know that Ford is very quick in a straight line, though, so would have had a very strong last sector.
Certainly would be. Just one point to mention about Toyota as well. Last-minute change in drivers. Adriano Karatza was actually supposed to be behind the wheel for qualifying. Technical issue delaying his charge, meaning that Cy Bishop is now behind the wheel. So I wonder what that is going to mean for them in terms of their qualifying position here. As you said, Cy not necessarily the quickest driver in qualifying trim, so I wonder whether that will hinder their group position as a result.
Audi right now, that is Emily Jones out in that car. Meanwhile, we come back to Subaru as Danny Solis finishes off his qualifying lap. Not looking too good. 4 attempts off the pace at the moment coming into the last sector. That Subaru historically has been quite quick on the straight, so might get a bit of time back here. cuts the timing beam. Time is a 1:39.6, a 6/10 shy in the end there. Good enough for 5th provisionally. Here comes Side Bishop actually up on that time with the Toyota. Just 2/10 shy this time. What's he going to do? Probably a low 39 at this pace, comes across the line. The time is a 1:39.4. Puts him up into 5th to place the Subaru.
Nicely done there for him. Now, what about Citroën? 0.2 of a second adrift, nearly 0.3 for Andrew Brooks, the Canadian driver behind the wheel. He comes over the line. Then what can he do? And he goes into 5th quickest then, so not bad at all for Citroën. Now Porsche a little bit quicker at the moment by the looks of things. They come over the line, go 3rd fastest, so provisional head of the 2nd row then for Subaru. Audi with Emily Jones behind the wheel, half a second off as it sits in the 3rd sector, and it's not going to be anything to write home about as she comes over the timeline, only 9th fastest. Now Mercedes-Benz, they're up. This could be pole position here then. Behind the wheel of that Mercedes is Luca Bonelli, and he comes over the line to snatch pole position away in his only flying lap. Fantastic drive there from the Brazilian.
Yeah, and that Mercedes team well and truly stacked. Bonelli, Lukowski and Beauvoir there taking that, but that's everyone across the start-finish line. That's going to be, I think that's that done. There are some people still going around for another lap, but I think that is qualifying over. Mercedes taking pole position.
Absolutely, so that is how the grid lines up. Then it will be Mercedes and Ford on the front row, Lamborghini, Porsche on row 2, Honda, BMW row 3, Citroën, Toyota row 4. Then comes Subaru and Audi on row 5, and Mazda and Volkswagen on the 6th and final row of the grid as we conclude qualifying in the Manufacturer Series. So we now know how the grid is going to line up ahead of race 1 for the Manufacturer Series. Let's find out what the result is going to be. We're about to go racing in the 2020 FIA GT Championships. Time to go racing. The Manufacturers Series for the 2020 FIA GT Championships is about to get underway. The world final event. Pole position, Luca Bonelli for Mercedes-Benz. He lines up at the head of the field with a cracking lap. Toshiro Kato, the Japanese driver for Ford, is alongside him on that front row of the grid with Lamborghini's Dan Holland at the head of row number 2. Alongside the Australian is Porsche. Matt Simmons behind the wheel, an all-Australian 2nd row. Then comes Honda, Valerio Gallo, the Italian driver. We know he can be quick on his day. Can he have a good run of fortune here? Coque Lopez in 6th position will be trying to keep the BMW M6 honest. Then comes the Citroën of Andrew Brooks in P7. And alongside the Canadian is Cy Bishop, the New Zealand, the Kiwi driver in the Toyota GR Supra. Then comes 9th place, Danny Solis, the American driver behind the wheel of the Japanese Mark, with Emily Jones, Audi in P10. P11 is Mazda, Fabian Portilla, the Chilean driver behind the wheel. And alongside him is Volkswagen and Donovan Parker completing our 12-driver strong grid. So, Jimmy, you're one to watch for this race. It's got to be Mercedes, right?
Yeah, it's got to be. Bonelli at the wheel of that Mercedes-Benz, of course, hot off the 2nd place in the GR Supra Cup as well. That entire team is stacked, but also keep an eye out for Honda as well, because Valerio Gallo at the wheel, that very, very strong in the online season. He won't be happy at 5th place. Look for him to move up. Just a look at the tyres as well. Mercedes-Benz, they're opting for the medium tyres to start with. Ford, Lamborghini and Porsche, as you can see, going for the soft compound. They're going to try and get themselves ahead of Luca Bonelli in the Mercedes as soon as they possibly can, and hope that Bonelli falls a little bit down the order with the pace difference. Let's see what is going to happen then. We've got 15 laps ready to come here at the Sardegna Road Track A layout. We're about to find out what is going to happen in the first of 3 races here today. Mercedes-Benz on pole position, Ford alongside them, Lamborghini and Porsche ready to try and take advantage as well. But we get the world final for the 2020 FIA GT Championships. The Manufacturer Series is underway then here at Sardegna as the field comes over the line and over the crest of the hill for the first time and down towards that very tricky first corner. Lamborghini already in the slipstream of Ford. Ford having to go defensive, then Lamborghini opting to try and go towards the outside. Mercedes-Benz as well, getting very, very close along the defensive. Bit of a wiggle there for Ford out of the first corner as they all come cascading through these S-bends. They're going to flick it into the left-hander in a few moments' time and go hard on the brakes. Things might settle down for just a few moments through there, but everybody keeping their nose clean through the first corners. Luca Bonelli, for now at least, just holding on to the race lead. Yes, it's very important for the guys on the soft tyres to get by Bonelli and that Mercedes-Benz as quick as possible. They're just going to be held up by Bonelli on that medium compound in front, so They're going to try, if I were them anyway, not fight too much between themselves and just focus on catching that Mercedes. You see there's a little bit of a fight coming onto this back straight, and it's giving Benelli a little bit of breathing room at the front of the field right now as the cars train up towards this tight left-hander. Heavy braking zone. It's one of the great places to overtake if you fancy it. Ford having to defend in the background. Valerio Gallo going for the overtake on Porsche for the left-hander. Squeezes up the inside, gets the move done. Porsche out wide, has to lift to avoid the barrier, and that is Gallo in the Honda up to 4th position.
Matt Simmons getting duffed up there then in the Porsche, so down into P5 for the German marks, and work to do then clearly for them, especially on the soft tyre. That is not where they'll want to be. Now we're about to come into the final series of corners here, and we're about to come onto the longest straight on the circuit. That could be the opportunity that Ford have been looking for. Bit of a wiggle out of the penultimate corner there for Mercedes-Benz and for Luca Bonelli. Is that going to allow Ford to close up? Of course, they're punching the hole in the air, is the Mercedes-Benz at the moment. Ford, meanwhile, are taking the advantage of the slipstream, but are they going to be able to do anything? They're not quite close enough as it stands at the moment. Meanwhile, Porsche are ready to attack against Honda. Side by side we go down towards the first corner. Honda on the inside, Porsche trying to go towards the outside as we go down in towards T1. Honda just about able to defend from Matt Simmons then. Gallo just holds firm in P4.
Yes, at the moment these guys are fighting. Oh, big time, very late move there from Gallo. Reacted, I think, to Matt Simmons and to the left-hander. The stewards might take a look at that, I'm not sure. They're allowed one move, but it's a bit late for my liking. Right now on board with Matt Simmons into that Porsche. Great driver's eye view of what you see in one of these races. There in front of us is Gallo in the Honda NSX. Left-hander coming up now. Almost touch this wall on the left and then just drift out to the Armco on the right. And it looks like Mercedes-Benz still about holding on from Ford, but of course for Matt Simmons in that Porsche, he needs to get by too. He's on the soft compounder tyre, and Gallo in the medium making things difficult. They pull alongside again. This is where Gallo took the place last time around. Can Matt Simmons go around the outside? There's contact between Ford and Mercedes there. They both went for the same bit of tarmac. Mercedes come out ahead, but this is disastrous for the soft runners, and also the background Porsche backed by Honda.
Meanwhile as well, BMW just getting the better of Citroën up into P6 there as well. It's all kicking off in the midfield. Riding on board now with Mercedes-Benz. Luca Bonelli can breathe a sigh of relief for just a few moments time. I imagine that would have got him a little bit hot under the collar, but this is not the way the soft running teams would have wanted to have started this race. Ford, Lamborghini and Porsche then wanted to get themselves ahead of Mercedes-Benz as soon as they possibly could. Now we come onto the straight, and now we can see Ford once again in that slipstream as we come down it. They're closer than they were last time around. Mercedes-Benz are going to be wise to that. They pull to the inside and try to defend their line. Ford going towards the outside though. They're going to have more grip under braking, and they take the lead away from Mercedes-Benz. So Ford now leads the way, and it's Toshiro Kato, the Japanese driver who's behind the wheel, that is now out in front.
Finally, that needed to happen at the start of the race. So right now it's still very much an advantage to Mercedes because Bonelli managed to hold them up for 3 laps on that medium tyre. We'll have to see how that sort of comes around when he starts making his pit stops. Lamborghini there now getting a lot closer after that little bit of fight. Dan Holland, of course, in the car for them at the moment, making advantage of these guys having a bit of a fight, managing now to get onto the back of Bonelli in the Mercedes. Now we'll have to draft all the way up the hill. Here's the replay, by the way. Oh no, sorry, we've gone back to live. We're going to replay them, but here is on board. Let's see if he goes for the same lunge we've seen a couple of times. We've seen him go for the lunge up the inside there, but then he sort of goes into the road there, defends, late on the brakes. Oh, you always cringe a little bit when you watch that. He went in a bit deep, and there you go, Bonelli sideways on the exit, just determined to keep the cars behind him for now. But if he does that too much, Tom, he's going to lose out to Kato in the Ford.
Look at Matt Simmons as well in the Porsche. He's really closed up that gap. He goes offline, as you say, but he has closed that gap down. It was 7/10 of a second at the start of that lap. It's now down to 1/10 of a second. So Matt Simmons, the man, definitely on the move. Now he's got himself ahead of Valerio Gallo, riding on board with the Australian driver then. As we come out of the penultimate corner, we're going to go through the right-handed kink as these drivers come through onto the start-finish straight once again. And let's see what's going to happen then, because this is where it's going to be crunch time here for these drivers with the slipstream then. Riding on board here with Matt Simmons. Look though at Lamborghini. Look at Dan Holland pulling to the side of Luca Bonelli. Side by side they come on to the start-finish straight once again. Lamborghini going to have more grip under braking. Exactly the same move we saw from Ford last time around. Lamborghini, the Italian mark, now through into P2. Down to you, Steve.
Yes, so the soft tyre should be about 0.7 of a second quicker per lap. So the 2 laps that Mercedes held everyone up is slowing everyone else down by that much time. So it's actually quite an interesting strategy, quite a clever one from Mercedes actually to go on the medium, because usually from the front you're going to lead with the best tyre. So 1.5 seconds maybe lost by Ford and Lamborghini in those first couple of laps. Might not sound like a lot, but with these races so close, that could be pivotal at the end of the race.
Mercedes there running a little bit close to the barrier. Benelli now starting to maybe feel the pressure of the cars behind. We're on board Matt Simmons there. Now it's his turn to try and get by the Brazilian driver. Will he have a stab up the inside here? We've seen it happen a couple of times. Oh, a little bit late on the brakes. Benelli getting a little bit of help into that. I think it's the second time in a row he's had help into that corner now. It's probably thinking, come on mate, I'm doing my best. But look who's still there lurking in the background. That is Valerio Gallo. He is the only other person here on the medium compound of tyres. So really his race technically is with Benelli and not with these guys around him. You think ahead a little bit, but as Steve said, it's been a good start from Benelli, and interesting to see someone adapt a different strategy from the start here.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how it all plays out there for Mercedes-Benz. Of course, just to remind you, no driver changes here in these races in the Manufacturer Series here today. A bit different from what we're used to with our normal World Tour events, but that's the way things are. No driver changes, just one driver competing in this, which is why we've only got 3 races, 3 drivers per manufacturer, and we have 3 races. Makes it nice and easy. Now, Mercedes-Benz having to keep an eye on their mirrors because Matt Simmons, who's been closing up that gap, is getting closer, but not quite able to mount a challenge, at least, into that first corner, but certainly looking the quicker of the 2 cars at the moment, and that's understandable, of course, given the pace difference with their tyre compound. Somebody who I'm very impressed with as well is Valerio Gallo in that Honda, just keeping pace with those soft tyre runners at the moment. He's right on the rear wing of the Porsche.
Yeah, I noticed him on the last lap just sort of sitting there and keeping pace with these fellas in front. It's been a good race from both Benelli and Gallo so far when you consider the tyre disadvantage they have at the start of the race. And this is interesting because we know that Honda and we know that Lamborghini and the Ford actually in fact and the Porsche, which I guess is technically mid-engine, they all seem to do very badly on their tyres around. They tend to do anyway, but they're holding on in there at the moment. The AMG Mercedes, which you can see on your screen right now, a Benellian, that car tends to hold on a bit longer to its tyres, so maybe that will explain why Dan Holland is not getting away in the Lamborghini.
Just having a look at Luca Benelli's driver cam here as well, which we've got the benefit of being able to see, and I can see him looking all over the screen, left, right and centre, just keeping an eye on the cars behind. He's so much watching his mirrors, as you can see, and well, that's a very easy way to be able to lose focus, watching your mirrors too much, not concentrating on your driving line, and it's a very easy way to allow a driver to find an opportunity to get their way past.
He also looks like he's about to pull the wheel off. He's really gripping it. I mean, like, I get that. Sometimes you can get a bit into it, but people always ask, what is the best driving technique? And the simple answer is whatever you comfy with, however you're fastest, don't worry. If you want to lean back and do it, you can do that.
Mercedes,
yes, into the pit lane, onto that soft compound of tyre. So that'll be them on a fast run. BMW do the same. Interestingly, Gallo stays out, a Honda.
So he's on the medium compound tyre. Those tyres, of course, should be good for just a little bit longer. But the expected strategy, if you're on the medium tyres, is to run them for 8 or so laps. The expected time if you start on the strategy, if you start on the soft tyre, is to run them for 7 or so laps. But coming in a lap sooner there for Mercedes-Benz and also for BMW then at the start of lap number 6. So that'll be interesting to see how it all plays out then for them. But now Porsche have got Lamborghini in front of them as well, with Dan Holland looking very close indeed. And certainly this is some good pace in the opening stages here from Matt Simmons, especially given they were a bit duffed up in the first few laps.
Now, just on tyre wear, there's some nice little documents here that tell us what's going on. The soft tyre was expected to really go about to lap 7 at the best. Sorry, Tom, it seems something.
No, I was just thinking in the background there, it's Citroën versus Toyota. Those two were going side by side for 6th position. Look at this, here we go. 3 wide, Subaru on the inside, Citroën in the middle, Toyota on the outside. Subaru try to outbrake them, Citroën go the long way around the outside. Can they manage to hold their way through? Subaru up into 6th place, Toyota demoted down into 7th, and look in the background as well, because Audi are ready to join the party here. This is getting very exciting and quite tasty in the midfield. All of these manufacturers on the medium compound of tyre, but this is a great scrap for position. Citroën somehow emerging on top, and crucially, all 3 drivers going 3 wide at one point, staying in the right direction.
What happened? Well, I mean, just looked away and suddenly the cars descent into the left-hand. As you say, Citroën, Andrew Brooks there. Andrew Brooks, someone who's had all the bad luck in the world, it seems, in pretty much every competition, but he's doing okay right now. Honda into the pit lane as, oh hello, we've got a fight for 2nd and 3rd here. Porsche, that's Matt Simmons and Dan Holland, long-time rivals, these guys. Simmons looks around the outside, can he make it work? Oh, Dan Holland runs him out of circuit there. Maybe a little bit cheeky. But we'll see if the stewards think so, but I think that's just hard racing in my opinion. And Gallo out the pit lane now, importantly, about 2 seconds behind Benelli. on that soft compound tyre. He pitted a bit early, got a bit of an undercut, but of course that means towards the end of the race his tyres will not be as fresh.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out then for Mercedes, and crucially how good Benelli's tyre management is going to be here. Riding on board still with Matt Simmons and Porsche all over the back of Lamborghini, and I can imagine there won't be much love lost between himself and Dan Holland after that incident at the last lap that we saw, so it's getting pretty spicy between these guys. Meanwhile, having quite a quiet race out in front as it stands so far, Toshiro Kato, not really been mentioning him since he got into the race lead, but the Ford now 1.6 seconds ahead of the squabbling duo for second position of Lamborghini and Porsche, and doing a good job out there so far.
And what I was saying before the guys went crazy and took attention away from the tyres is the soft tyre really, the guys think is good enough for only about 7 laps, and then 8 laps on the medium tyre. That's what people think is going to happen with strategy here. So we expect a flurry of pit stops from the soft compounder tyre. I wonder how long Kato at the front of the field can make that soft tyre last. I think we're seeing Dan Holland and Lamborghini starting to get onto the gain a little bit and taking Matt Simmons with him in that Porsche.
Yeah, and Matt Simmons coming in as well. No surprise there really, because he didn't start losing time before too long there. So goes on to the medium compound of tyre. Just to mention, these drivers don't have to worry about fuel in these races. They should be absolutely fine to be able to run it from start to finish, given the duration. Just something that's worth mentioning. Citroen also coming in from the medium to the soft compound of tyre. This is lap number 7 out of 15. We're coming towards the halfway stage now. Where are Porsche going to emerge? Behind Luca Benelli and behind Mercedes. Where's Gallo? Just behind them there as well. So they get ahead of Honda, which is good to see. So the strategy hasn't worked out there thus far for Valerio Gallo and for Honda, but it's worked out quite nicely so far then for Matt Simmons and Porsche.
That's going to be great for Benelli in front, because now he's got a bit of a roadblock between him and Gallo, who was chasing him. Gallo really trying hard through there, getting the NSX sideways. Oh, and look at the exit speed compared to that. Nice warm-up for temperature soft tyres versus cold medium tyres. And Matt Simmons doing his best to try and hold him off, but to no avail. Porsche has to concede the place to Honda there as Gallo dives up the inside. But now he'll be giving the draft to Matt Simmons coming up the hill. That Porsche's no slouch in a straight line, putting back alongside the Honda. They're going to be 2 abreast coming into the left-hander at the top of the hill here, but Honda and Gallo have the line on the inside. It should be a fairly easy defensive move. It is. Gallo holds position for now, but Matt Simmons definitely not about to give up.
Lovely, great racing here from these drivers. Steve, what do you make of things so far in terms of the strategy? We've had a few drivers and pretty much everybody making their pit stops. Ford and Lamborghini, the only teams left to pit.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the gap between Ford and Mercedes. It takes roughly 13 seconds to do a pit stop. At the moment, the gap is 13.5. So if they were to come in right now, it's going to be really, really close.
Right on cue, Steve. Nice work. Good. I'll ask you for the lottery numbers next week. So they come into the pit lane then onto the medium compound of tyre. So Toshiro Kato and Dan Holland then into the pit lane onto the medium. Where are they going to emerge? You would imagine that Luca Benelli is going to be in front. And indeed, oh no, hang on a minute. This is going to get very close indeed. So they're going to come out side by side. There's a good amount of closing speed, and it's just enough then for Luca Benelli to take over the lead. But Lamborghini down to 3rd.
And that's what Benelli was doing at the start. That's what the holding him up at the start of the medium tyre has done. He now has clear air, a gap of 1.3 seconds and a better tyre. It's now going to take a lot for Mercedes to lose this race.
This is very exciting indeed then. So lap 9 out of 15 we're on Mercedes with the softer, quicker compound of tyre on. The only disadvantage that they have is that the tyre is going to be a little bit older towards the end of this. We'll come back to that in a few moments' time, because here's Valerio Gallo versus Dan Holland, Honda versus Lamborghini. Honda on the inside of Lamborghini, and Honda now past Lamborghini through into 3rd position. Lovely driving there from the Italian once more. Is Dan Holland going to have anything in the locker to try and retaliate? You'd imagine it's going to be quite difficult given their difference in tyre compound, soft versus medium. Advantage to Honda at the moment, but we know that Dan Holland doesn't take things lying down, and we have seen in this race that he can get his elbows out and isn't afraid to get down and dirty with this, but he now has to relinquish it. But here we go then with Toyota and Cy Bishop and Subaru and Audi and Citroen. This is a continuing theme over the course of this race in the lower half of the top 10, and it's getting very tasty once more. It looks like Emily Jones is the driver on the attack here.
Yeah, looking from side to side there, Danny Solis just trying to fill his mirrors, say, hi, look at me, don't look at where you're going, and let me try and get by. You see again, looking to the inside, again, Emily, like a few drivers in this field, does have real-life racing experience, so definitely knows what she's doing behind the wheel of that Audi R8, but it's Cy Bishop that leads this little pack from Danny Solis, says Emily Jones as well. Andrew Brooks in the Citroen, who's fallen off a little bit as Andrew Brooks, actually. I thought we'd seen a bit higher in the field, but not quite managing to do so. And Parker there at the back of the chain in the VW. Here's Matt Simmons and Dan Holland yet again, and Simmons repaying the favour on Holland from earlier on, but then again Holland just drives the line, drives him onto the outside of the circuit, and Matt Simmons has to settle again for 5th position.
Right, well, the Aussies then doing what they do best in this race, getting their elbows out, going door handle to door handle and knocking 7 bells out of one another. It's great racing, great spectacle, but I wonder how fair the stewards are going to deem that. I mean, the fortunate thing is that they emerged without pretty much anything lost there, but Dan Holland now ahead, and he's getting pretty robust in this race.
I'd say, we know Matt, a GT Academy winner, of course, racing driver over in Australia, drove a Nissan GT3 for a very long time in a Porsche this time as well, so a lot of experience, a lot of maturity, I imagine. We'll see if it pays off. Coming into here, a bit of a dive to the outside there as Dan Holland took the inside line, and now look what's happening. We've got the BMW with them as well. That's Coque Lopez, of course, winner of the last Manufacturer Series all the way back in Sydney. That's a long time ago, wasn't it? My word. But here's Coque Lopez. I reckon he can get involved here. You know what he's like. He likes the last-minute lunch, does Coque.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? This is going to be an interesting three-way scrap. Then these swordsmen jousting away in this race, coming down into the penultimate corner. Lamborghini in 4th, Porsche in 5th, BMW in 6th, a little bit wide there for Matt Simmons coming through the penultimate corner. Lamborghini still holding firm as it stands, but of course Coque Lopez is going to be a bit quicker given that he is on the softer compound of tyre, and he is in the slipstream very firmly indeed. We cross back to the look at 3rd place of Valerio Gallo, who's been closing down Toshiro Kato in the 4th, but the battle I want to look at is the battle still for 4th position, which continues on because it's still very close indeed. And here we can see BMW all over the side panel now of Porsche and of Matt Simmons. Side by side we go through the S-bends, flicking it left. Who's going to break latest on the inside line, and surely going to have track position is Coque Lopez. Oh, and Matt Simmons on the gravel, spins round, and he's off into the barrier. That's a disaster for Porsche there, into the barrier. They're going to come back on. There's going to be big drama here because Citroën go off there as well, and well, that has really changed the complexion of this race, and it now means that instead of battling for a top 5 finish, that Porsche are now in the lower half of the top 10. They're all at sea here. Emily Jones in the Audi up the inside, and now Volkswagen of Donovan Parker ready to come through. What an absolute disaster for Porsche.
Did he get help? Did Matt get help there, or did he just put a wheel on the grass and try and turn in? I didn't quite catch the first part of that. I saw him spinning off, and I saw his driver cam, and some choice words, I think, uttered there by Matt Simmons, who believes maybe Coque Lopez is at fault. We have stewards here, that's what their job is, so we'll keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, Gallo still harrying Kato. Looks like he might have a move there. Not quite close enough. I think he'll save himself with the draft on the straight and get by that way. But what a team that is. Gallo, Sugimori and Fraga. That's a very strong Honda team.
It certainly is. Steve, have you got any light that you can shed to us on this? I'll come back to you in a few moments' time there, Steve. I'm just going to cross back to this because it's getting very tasty here between Honda and Ford at the moment. Coming down the start-finish straight then. Ford on the defensive, but Honda on the attack. They pull alongside towards the outside then as they come over the crest of the hill and down in towards the first corner. Kato versus Gallo. Down into T1. Gallo on the outside in the Honda. Tries to go the long way around the outside there, but Kato's wise to that. Holds firm and holds second position. But Steve, what did you make of that incident between Porsche on the last lap there?
Yeah, just had another look at the replay, and unfortunately for Matt, it was just an unforced error, really. He was left the space, just dipped 2 wheels into the gravel, and, you know, next thing he knows, he's in the barrier. So it was just an unforced error.
Happens to those cars, those mid-engine cars, it'd be very, very easy to get away from you. Meanwhile, Citroën and Audi. So we did see Andrew Brooks do his best Matt Simmons impression in the background as well, but flying off into the gravel as well. Was he helped by Emily Jones? Stewards looking at that now. Gallo still can't quite get by Kato at this point. That Ford's a rocket in a straight line. You see really defending hard. Gallo forced to go to the outside. I can see at Kato's driving cam that he's breathing heavy right now. He's concentrating. He does not want to give up this place. And we know Gallo in that Honda, one of the fastest drivers in the world. Imagine the pressure of looking in a mirror and knowing you have him behind you. But it doesn't seem to be affecting Kato that much, apart from the heavy breathing.
Lambo versus BMW in the background there as well. That's for P4 at the moment. We'll keep a close eye on that one. But this is absolutely tantalising. And all the while they've been squabbling, look who's been clearing off into the distance. Luca Bonelli and Mercedes-Benz now nearly 4 seconds ahead of this duo. So let's have another look at the replay here. So BMW on the inside, Porsche on the outside. There was definitely racing room there. Yeah, simple driving error there.
Where are you going, mate? Well, that's not the line. He just drove on. I've seen a couple of drivers, they dip the wheel in there, don't they?
Come back to that in a moment, Jimmy, because here we go with Ford versus Honda again. Sorry to cut in front of you. Honda on the outside once more. Kato not giving any racing room there between those guys. Absolutely no love lost between them. This is very exciting indeed, but still Ford holding firm.
Yeah, keeping it there for now. And again, see, that's what I meant. They dip a couple of tyres into the gravel and turn in there, so that's maybe just the line, but that went a little bit too wide. BMW and Lamborghini now. Coco Lopez on that soft tyre, looking to move up a bit more. Dan Holland, of course, just trying to keep that medium tyre alive in the Lamborghini. And again, Ford and Honda, again, these guys squabbling. Kato driving very well defensively right now, so looking just to try and keep Honda there. Again, this is the best opportunity Rio Gallo has. He can stay in the drive for a while, get the extra speed, then try and make something work. We know that Kato's going to go defensive here, so maybe force him to stay shallow, force him to stay tight, and then at the last second pull out. But you see Kato just sort of drive to the outside. Very, very, very defensive driving. Very good.
Yeah, very. I can tell. No easy feat that at all. Oh, Porsche going down the order and then up the order and still dueling as well in the lower half of the top 10. It's all changing places. You can see the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. Honda with Valerio Gallo, definitely with a pace advantage, but great defensive driving from Kato. Here's an opportunity then for Gallo. Sends it down the inside of the penultimate corner. Up the inside he goes and through finally into second place there. Nicely done for Valerio Gallo as we see him moving up into P2.
And Ford will come back here. Kato actually, I think, let that happen because now he's going to have the draft. He goes, all right, if you want to overtake me, I'm going to just drive by you. But very firmly shut the door, did Valerio Gallo there. Kato onto the grass. He's got the medium tyre, so he won't quite have the same stopping power as that. He's going to try around the outside anyway. Is he going to make it work? No, he won't. Gallo shuts the door, but the cutback. Kato the cutback there. Gallo a bit wide. Now Kato has the inside line. What a move by the Japanese driver, and a tyre disadvantage still gets the move done, and Gallo's got to do it all over again.
Well, this is fantastic racing between these guys. Of course, it does matter for the points as well. To remind you, of course, the points will, of course, reflect the race results, but it could be crucial going into the grand final a little bit later on here today. Incident involving Volkswagen and Porsche under investigation. Here's Gallo now back down the inside of Ford. Kato has to relinquish that place, and Gallo is now ahead, a little bit wide on the exit there. Is Kato going to be able to retaliate behind the wheel of the Ford? You certainly bet that he's going to try to. As we've said a few times, that Ford is an absolute rocket ship in a straight line. Gallo knows that, goes defensive as they come and flick it left, but Kato is not going to have an opportunity surely unless he dives down the inside. Bit early for that at the moment, but it's now Honda who hold on to second place. Here comes Lamborghini versus BMW for P4 as it stands at the moment, coming through the right-hander, and it's Coque Lopez on the attack once again against Daniel Holland. In the background, Subaru versus Toyota. Well, there's so much action in the closing stages of this one, it's difficult to know where to look, but there's some great racing action, and that's what we love to see in the Manufacturer Series.
Coque Lopez not quite close enough for a move. Steve, mate, you've got a couple more angles than us. What are you making of this fight? It's pretty decent.
It's a really good fight. I think the battle for second is really good because the Honda doesn't have the straight line speed, but the Ford GT is really good. So it's a battle of handling versus top speed, as you're going to see right now.
Yeah, cheers there, Steve. Meanwhile, let's look at this. Here comes Honda versus Ford once more over the timing line. We're starting the final lap here in race one of the Manufacturer Series. Ford to the outside, Honda again to the inside. Kato, a demon on the brakes. Absolutely fantastic from the Japanese driver. Back through into second at the start of the final lap. And Lamborghini versus BMW still going on once more. Holland defends in the Lamborghini, not quite able to get past. It's Coque Lopez still in P5.
I've got no idea how Kato is taking this fight to Gallo. That car is going to be a lot more difficult to handle on those warm medium tyres. A bit of a slide there from Dan Holland to the Lamborghini keeps Coque Lopez here for now. Again, Honda and Ford in the Ford brand new picture still going at it, and it's going to be the last chance really for Gallo to get a move done up the hill here. Let's see if he can get it done.
So coming then through the right-hander and over the crest of the hill then, is Gallo going to be able to do anything to get himself ahead of Kato? Is Lopez going to be able to get himself ahead of Dan Holland in the Lamborghini? Look at the defensive line once more from Kato. Thinks about it, does Valerio Gallo, has to back out of it once more. It was never going to work through there. He's running out of opportunities. It's going to be a drag to the line. Mercedes-Benz and Luca Bonelli, though, are going to take the victory. That's a couple of corners away, but here we go then as we come through into the last real overtaking opportunity on the brakes, at least there for Valerio Gallo, unless he's going to try and do a drag to the line. Look at Kato's defensive driving, goes to the inside, has to force Gallo to the outside line there. That's going to compromise his exit speed, though, and the advantage of the slipstream there for Gallo as well. Maybe something something that really helped him in the run to the line. Luca Bonelli and Mercedes-Benz, though, take the win in race 1 of the Manufacturer Series. But who is going to claim second place? It's Ford versus Honda to the line in race 1 here at Sardegna, and Toshiro Kato and Ford hold on for second ahead of Valerio Gallo and Honda for P3. Lamborghini 4th, BMW in 5th place, Subaru finished 6th ahead of Toyota in 7th. What an absolutely fantastic race, though.
Yeah, the big loser there is there in the pit lane right now. Citroen, Andrew Brooks. A horrible race for them. He's upset there, but Kato, my word, I am impressed. I am thoroughly impressed because he not only, I thought he was done when he got overtaken, but he re-overtook and defended on the worst compounder tyre. I can see him in the driver cam, and it's knackered at the moment. But
I mean, think of the confidence that's got to give Ford, though, going into these races when they're on a slower compound of tyre. The pace that Kato had there on the medium, the less optimum compound, was unbelievable. What an absolutely fantastic race 1. Bring it on. Well, if race 2 is going to be anything like race 1 was, it's got a lot to live up to. I'm really looking forward to that. We're at the Red Bull Ring in just a few moments' time for the continuation of the Manufacturer Series for the FIA GT Championships. Let's take a look, shall we, at some replays, though, beforehand, and just guide you through what happened in race 1 to recap that frantic start to it, because it was Mercedes-Benz that led the way from pole position, followed by Ford and Lamborghini, but took a few laps and then Ford found their way through.
yeah, finally, of course, that Mercedes-Benz strategy really paying off, holding up the Ford and the soft runners for the first few laps. This was Honda and Lamborghini having a bit of a scrap as the race got underway. Honda on the quicker tyre getting through. This was the moment of the race here. Mercedes-Benz coming out of the pits ahead of everybody else. Fortunately for Matt Simmons, drifting, not the fastest way around the circuit.
No, straight into the barrier there for him. This was Ford versus Honda in the closing stages of it. Ford getting the better of Honda. Valerio Gallo having to settle for second best. But what a great race it was from Lucas Bonelli for Mercedes-Benz to take the spoils in the first race of the day in the Manufacturer Series. And that is going to be a very welcome result. You can see what it meant for the Brazilian driver. A perfect start for the German manufacturer here today then. So let's take a look, shall we, at the race 1 results. So it's Lucas Bonelli who sits at the top of the pile for Mercedes-Benz, followed by Toshiro Kato, Valerio Gallo, also on the podium. Then Lopez, Holland, Solis, Bishops, Jones, Parker, Portilla, Matt Simmons and Andrew Brooks down there for Citroen. What a shocker of a start the French mark had.
Yeah, worth noting as well that Holland was awarded a 2-second penalty after the race, which dropped him behind Coque Lopez, so 1 less point for him. So standings after the first race, Mercedes-Benz lead from Ford, from BMW, of course, definitely benefiting from those 3 points they picked up from the World Tour. Then Honda and Lamborghini make up 4th and 5th.
So plenty of work for some manufacturers to do. A great start for others, but we know how quickly this can change, right?
Well, I mean, double points in the final round, that's the one they're all going to be aiming for, but if you can get a few points along the way, can't it?
No, certainly can't. Well, really looking forward to seeing how these drivers are going to be getting on here for the remainder of the Manufacturer Series. But in the meantime, before we get race 2 underway, let's head down to Julia then, who's with our race 1 winner, Lucas Bonelli.
Hey, Lucas, how are you doing?
Tudo bom, e vocês?
Good, no one ever asks me. Yeah, I'm fine. So I just thought my first question was, you know, was it your strategy from the very, very start to opt for the medium tyres so that basically it ruined everybody else's soft tyres?
Sim, a minha estratégia desde o início era largar com os pneus médios para aproveitar os outros oponentes que estavam largando de soft, evitar as disputas e estar utilizando o slipstream deles.
So, well, I mean, it was a great strategy that definitely paid off, so well done. I guess one thing I'd like to know, obviously, you know, doing the Manufacturer Series, how difficult is it now to just watch the rest of the races? Because you can't, you just have to watch them do all the rest of the work for you. Is it hard?
Sim, sim, sim. Teremos corridas muitas corridas difíceis ainda, mas acredito nos meus companheiros que terão bons resultados.
Fantastic. Oh, well, look, thank you so much for talking to us. Go and relax now. Try and just chill out a little bit. And yeah, good luck to the rest of the team and all the teams going into the second race. But before we go into race 2, though, we have a wonderful message from Graham Stoker from the FIA.
Well, I'm delighted to be here with you again. Such an exciting final, isn't it? With 40 competitors, 19 countries. And we're now 3 years into this strong relationship with Gran Turismo and our friends there. And it's such a success. But I have to tell you, during lockdown, with this pandemic, digital motorsport, sim racing has been so important to us. We've been so active in sim racing and digital motorsport, and Gran Turismo has been at the heart of that. I'm very proud of what's happened, actually. Hundreds of thousands of competitors around the world. So as I say, we're moving forward next year, I think, to an even stronger relationship, sharing more information. We want to be involved. We think this is the future, a way of identifying new talent, grassroots talent. Skills directly move across from sim racing into motorsport. So what a fabulous time to be here together. Thank you.
Oh, so nice to hear from Graham there at the FIA about everything that's going to be coming and, you know, how we're going to be working together in the future. Makes me super hopeful and excited for next year. Now, we are just moments away from race 2, but even though we're kind of in the midway through this manufacturer series, everyone's eye is a little bit looking to the grand final, mainly because everything can get totally turned on its head. So we thought we'd pull Jimmy away from his desk, chuck him in a rig and get him to give us some tips and tricks for GR3 cars at Interlagos, because we might need the tips and tricks. Jimmy, please help us. How can we make it better?
Yeah, these our manufacturer drivers always look to me for their driver guidance. So I'm going to try and do my best to help them out. We're in the Mazda RX Vision GT3 concept, mainly because it sounds awesome, rotary powered, of course. And we're at Interlagos, a circuit where I always say middle sector is the most important, but saying that, probably not. Let's try and link the whole lap together. So start finish line, go for the right hand side of the circuit, look for that 50-metre marker just before you want to brake, heavy on the anchors, second gear, and then bring the car to the inside. Now the important thing is to be nice and smooth on exit and get a good exit, because you come onto a long straight here, and any issue you have coming out of that the center S there, you carry that issue all the way down towards T4 here, which you don't want to do. So again, look to the right hand side. It's a little bit of a run-off road here. You see it? There it is. We brake just before it. Don't be afraid to use the curb on the inside there. Be careful on the brakes, so don't release them too quickly as I did just then, otherwise the car's going to rotate in a nasty way and make you look silly, or sillier in my case. So again, T6. You want to try and hug the inside here, as like your favourite granny, as Tom Brooks would say. Nice on there. Then down to second gear through the middle sector. Nice and tidy through here. This is where all the time is lost, and you can really wear tyres, especially if you're in a mid-engine car. This is front engine, fortunately for us, but as mid-engine boys will be struggling a bit through there as the race goes on. Last part of the middle sector now, it's nice and neat and tidy. No need to rush through here, just focus on being smooth. So you can take this corner down here flat out if you're me on the racing super soft tyre. I'm cheating slightly, but don't tell anyone, because I'll make myself look good. And now for the last corner. Again, similar to the coming out of Center S, really important to get this corner right for the run up the hill, so don't do that. And then just run the car to the line of least resistance, we say, which is to come over to the left-hand side of the circuit. And instead of going all the way out to the outside, you want to come to the inside here. Qualifying start, come across the start-finish line. Going to be a 29 something for me. Oh no, it's not. It's a 30.2. So not a great time, Jules, but maybe that'll help you get round in the future. Who knows?
Oh, well, thanks, Jimmy. I mean, you didn't crash, which is probably the best thing that we could hope for.
That was my fear.
Just whatever you do, don't crash. Oh, well, look, thank you so much to Jimmy for those tips and techniques, so we can all improve, and maybe next year we're going to see you in the Grand Final Manufacturers Series. Yeah, speaking of which, I think it's just about that time. Why don't we go over to Tom and Jimmy to kick off race 2.
You all good? You all right there?
I'm not as fit as I remember being, man.
Sprinted over from the sim rig. I mean, it's a good thing you're simulation driving, not actually out there in a Yaris, because you'd probably be an absolute puddle on the floor right now.
Cheers, mate.
No worries.
Very
Pleasure.
fit.
Goodness me. Anyway, let's not talk about Jimmy's perspiration. Let's go over and talk about race number 2 for the Manufacturer Series, because we're at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, a track that we absolutely adore, of course, formerly known as the Österreich Ring, later modified. It's been on the Formula 1 calendar on and off since the early 90s, or the mid-90s rather, I should say. 4.3 kilometres long, as you can see. Here's the race details for you. Once again, we're in Group 3 cars, racing soft and medium tyres, available for our drivers. We've got 17 laps here, 2 times fuel consumption, 6 times tyre wear, a rolling start, a short circuit, Group 3 cars. Gotta love it, haven't you?
Yeah, big overtaking spots, T1, T3 and T4, long straights into sharp corners. For overtaking? No. But that's where you want to mount your attack, use the draft all the way up, and make sure you're in the right place at the right time. Team Mercedes, of course, are winners from the first race. We think they've got a 50% chance of being on the podium. So far, it's 100%. So this graphic is wrong.
Who's done that? AWS. What about the next team that we're looking at then? That'll be Team Toyota. They have been very impressive over the course of 2020. Of course, last year's Manufacturer Series champions, as you can see on your screen, 2 top finishes, including 1 world title. They've had 5 podiums in total, and we reckon, according to that graphic, there's a 62.5% chance of them being on the podium. Well, they'll need to turn things around a bit in race number 2.
Yeah, they didn't do that in race 1, did they?
Certainly didn't. Goodness me. So then, with that said, let's get ready, shall we, and go over to qualifying. 5 minutes now remaining then of qualifying ahead of race 2 for the Manufacturer Series for the World Final of the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships. BMW, Lamborghini, Ford, Honda, Volkswagen and Mazda have all set their respective lap times. A one-shot Super Bowl qualifying session for these drivers, and the last of the competitors heading out onto track now on their warming up laps to start their only flying laps in this session. What do you reckon for this one here, Jimmy? Because it's a tricky old track, this Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, very much a top speed circuit, this one. You need a car that's going to be quick in a straight line to make the most of the 3 massive straights here at this circuit. This Subaru is actually one of those cars, quite quick in a straight line. Well, it used to be anyway. I'm not sure what the balance is at the moment. But we saw Ford, of course, who were very quick down the straight at Sardegna. They're currently sitting in 3rd place. Right now, BMW, of course, on the provisional pole. That was Randall Haywood who set that lap. So if you are unfamiliar, we now have a completely fresh set of drivers in for race 2. The guys who've done their race 1, their job's done for the day. They can go get their feet up and I say watch calmly from the sidelines. Probably not.
Chewing their fingernails to the bone, more like is what's going to happen. Yeah, Lamborghini with Matt Troncoso in 2nd position at the moment. Then it is the Ford of Adam Wilk in 3rd position. Here is the Subaru. That is being piloted by Takuma Miyazono at the moment. We know how quick Takuma can be. If you watch the GR Supra GT Cup finals very recently, you'll have seen some impressive performances from him. Now winding himself up to start this flying lap then. Super GT, Steve, you know this track particularly well. What do you think the key to being fast around the Red Bull Ring is?
Yeah, I think it's really about just getting the good exits out of the corners. You've got long straights, as Jimmy said, top speed really matters. And it's the speed that you get onto the straights that really, really matters. So you see here the Subaru going up this very, very lengthy straight. And it's going to determine probably the best overtaking opportunity on the lap going up into turn 3. So it's really about getting the power down as early as possible, but as smoothly as possible as well.
That's the thing around here. Sometimes in qualifying you think, oh, you know what, I'm going to just make sure I get the best exit possible, put both feet on the throttle, and you end up just having oversteer and losing a ton of time. Toyota's looking quite strong in the 1st sector, as do Citroën, both up on the BMW's time so far. Let's see what Porsche can do as well. Of course, trying to maybe forget the last race when Matt Simmons found the barrier. It's now Tristan Bayliss at the wheel of this Porsche. Again, one of the, actually they're both Matt Simmons and Tristan Bayliss were there, who won at Tokyo as well.
So, a race-winning team.
Yeah, so they know how to win. Got to just do it again.
Yeah, exactly. And Citroën will be certainly hoping for a turnaround in fortune. They had a dire race 1 as a result of that incident with Matt Simmons. Got caught out, went into the barrier. We didn't know if it was any fault of their own. We needed to see another replay of it. We didn't get that, sadly. But they were down at the bottom of the pile at the end of this one. The good thing is, of course, this is another race. They've got another chance to qualify. And speaking of another chance to qualify, here comes Takuma Miyazono to the line then in the Subaru WRX. What is that time going to be? It's provisional pole position, a 1:27.2. But Toyota looking ready to try and take the challenge. It's Adriano Carrazza, the Brazilian driver behind the wheel. He goes to the line here and takes pole position away once again. What a lap there.
How's that for how tight is that? 1:27.23, 1:27.244 from the Citroën driver, and then 1:27.255, 1:27.266 the BMW. It is so tight at the top.
Not so good though for Porsche. Tristan Bayliss having a bit of a shocker on that one. He was 0.7 of a second down. This isn't going to be a lap in particular to write home about. Only P9 there for Tristan. That is a difficult pill to swallow for him. Viches Neto, the Brazilian, then heading to the line, 0.3 down in the final sector, 6th place at the line. It's only Mercedes-Benz who have got one more time to set. It's Cody Nikola Lakowski behind the wheel. He was 10th for the second down. I don't think it's going to be pole position, but it may possibly be only 6th place. God dear, how the tables turn there for Cody Nikola Lakowski then, and Mercedes-Benz. But Toyota then on provisional pole ahead of race 2. It's Adriano Carrazza who will start at the head of the field ahead of this race. So, a different grid order for race 2 compared to the finishing order for race 1. Set to be very exciting here as we get ready to go green at the Red Bull Ring. The Red Bull Ring is the venue. 12 drivers take to the grid ahead of race 2 for the Manufacturer Series World Finals then. Here's how the grid lines up. It's Team Toyota. Adriano Carrazza lines up on pole position, a 127.2 for him. Alonso Regalado, the Peruvian driver in the Citroen. They need to turn around in fortunes after no points in race 1. Takuma Miyazono heads row 2 in the Subaru WRX with BMW's Randall Hayward alongside him for company. The next row of the grid, it's Lamborghini. It's Matt Troncoso who lines up in P5, the American driver, with Mercedes-Benz Cody Nikolakowski for company. He needs to turn things around after a bit further down the order than they would have wanted to be. Vincenzo Nato for Brazil for Audi lines up P7. And then 8th position is Ford's Adam Wilk from Australia. P9 on the grid, that is the Honda of Sugimura, the Japanese driver. And alongside him, it's the Volkswagen of Soma Esseri. And the final row of the grid is comprised of Porsche, Tristan Bayliss. Well, they will certainly be hoping for a turnaround in fortunes after their dire race 1. And J1 from Australia in the Mazda completes our 12-driver strong grid. Let's go over to Super GT for the start of this one. Steve, Toyota have qualified on pole position. They're on the soft compound of tyres. Are they the one to watch for this race?
I would have thought so. They've got really good top-end speed, which is going to be crucial for defending against the horde of cars behind them. But you know, the top 6 will within a tenth of a second of each other in qualifying. So it's just going to be ridiculously close. I can't really call it, to be honest.
Well, let's see what happens. Cheers for that, Steve. So Adriano Carrazza then, who lines up on a pole position on the soft compound of tyre. Citroen also following suit with Alonso Regalado. The rest of the field, though, opting for the medium compound of tyre. And just to remind you, all the drivers must run both compounds of tyre over the course of this 17-lap race. Let's see what is going to happen then as we get ready for lights out. The drivers coming around the final corner then here at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. You see Group 3 cars that the drivers are competing in, fully fledged race cars, and they are set to make an absolutely phenomenal scene then. So race 2 of the Manufacturer Series World Final in Austria is underway as Toyota leads the field up the hill and in towards the first corner. Drivers weaving, trying to get some heat into their tyres as they come up the hill and through that first corner. Toyota and Adriano Carrazza leading the way out of that first turn, bit wiggly on the exit there for Citroen and Alonso Regalado out of the first corner, not losing too much time there, fortunately. And of course Toyota are punching that huge hole in the air as they come up the hill through the left-handed kink of turn 2 and then into the heavy braking zone of turn 3. So everybody keeping it nice and clean through those first couple of corners, but Alonso Regalado really closing up on the braking zone into turn 3.
Yeah, this is the best chance really for Regalado to do something at the start of the race while he's deep in the tow. So another effort maybe down towards the bottom of the hill here. T4 in the background, BMW having to defend from that Lamborghini who looked to the inside, but a contact there. Lamborghini forced their way through, the door was open, he pushed it open, and Mercedes-Benz, that is Cody Nikolakowski as well. He needs a good start here. Not really the place they need to be right now to defend from that earlier race win. Looking to the inside, trying to get the cut back on BMW now, coming through the middle sector. Can be clumsy through here going 2 abreast, so maybe a better idea just to follow and then try and queue something up onto the next straight.
Audi also duffing up forward into turn 4 as well. That's Vincenzo Nato now ahead of Adam Wilk into P7. This is a great battle though, but look at the daylight already between the top 3, and then Lamborghini in 4th position as it stands. BMW in the middle of the sandwich at the moment for P4 as it stands. Mercedes-Benz as we ride on board with Cody Nikolakowski, hoping to make some forward progress here though in this race, but qualifying wasn't anything to write home about after that very impressive win from Lucas Benelli, Nikolakowski's teammate in race 1. A bit wide on the exit out of turn 1, got over onto the sausage curb there, did the Lamborghini. That of course is Matt Troncoso who's behind the wheel. BMW and Lamborghini under investigation from one another for colliding with each other as they come down towards turn number 3. Lamborghini going defensive, Mercedes-Benz going to the inside of BMW and the inside of Lamborghini, 2 in 1. Here go BMW back on the inside. They come side by side of the corner exit. BMW 2 places in 1 corner. Well, that was very good, wasn't it?
Howdy got through as well. Lambo absolutely mugged into there, and of course Cody sort of set that all up. Randall was very patient on the way in. Back comes Lamborghini. Troncoso very unhappy that he's lost those places, not going to give up without a fight. Gets back up to 6th place, not quite actually, side by side there with the Audi in the background, but that's a great move for Cody. Open the door for all of them, and Audi's still defending from Lamborghini, can't quite find the way back. That's a disastrous sector for Troncoso. In fact, now Ford and Adam Wilk there wants a piece of the pie as well. He's got it up into 7th place.
Honda are ready to be on the attack as well. Sorry, Jimmy, this is unbelievable. Troncoso's going backwards. He's back up the inside there over Ford. Here come Honda as well, ready to try and pounce. Side by side, Lambo and Ford go into the penultimate corner. Ford holding it around the outside. That's going to allow surely an opportunity for Honda to come through very closely as well. Up the inside of Ford into the final turn. Ford now on the defensive and now losing out because they're on the grass. Here come Porsche back into the fray as we come to start lap number 3. And here you can see in the foreground of your shot as well, Lamborghini versus Honda nearly into the first corner, having a little bit of a look through turn 1. They are running nose to tail here. This is like a British touring car race.
This is how it's going to be round here with the toe at the moment. It's all about just positioning and strategic overtaking opportunities. Let's see if Porsche and Bayliss can do much better to the head of the field. Cody now getting by Randall Hayward up into the hairpin, just stops on the apex there. Randall was caught a little bit unaware there, got on the throttle quite aggressively after Cody pulled away, got sideways, and of course takes the Mercedes up into 4th place. That makes him now second. The medium runners, Subaru in front at the moment, Miyazono at the wheel of the Subaru Impreza. It's still Toyota leading, Citroen second, of course. Here is 4th, 5th and 6th place Audi, and Lamborghini, of course, still recovering after the abuse. I think it got on the last lap, absolutely just shuffled down the back of the field there.
Yeah, it just goes to show that one simple mistake or error or some kind of duffing up from another competitor can just cost you so dear. And that's exactly what happened to Lamborghini there, as they just upset their rhythm going through there, and then they were just falling down the order thereafter. And you can see now Mercedes-Benz as we look at Cody Nikolanikovsky in P4. He's got a bit of daylight between himself and Subaru. Takuma Miyazono in the Subaru, who's in P3 as it stands at the moment. And let's see whether he's going to be able to do anything to try and close that gap down. Be a true test of what sort of pace Cody's got underneath him in terms of the racing pace here.
Well, this is the thing now. He's going to be in the tow. Steve, mate, what does Cody do from here? He's sort of in this duel with Randall Hayward. They're going to keep fighting. How's he going to get away?
Well, he's just looking at the screen there, he's flashing him. To me, that means that he probably wants to work with him and not fight, because for these first couple of laps, there's been far too much contact between these front runners. So now it looks like they're going to get their head down and just try to actually make some ground going forwards.
Cheers, Steve. Ford versus Honda in the background. We just saw going in towards turn 3. They're still side by side on the exit. You can just see there in the background of your shot. Porsche ready to pounce there as well. They're now up into P9 at the expense of the Japanese manufacturer. So Sugimura getting duffed up. Here we go. Here's Porsche on the inside. Ford as well. Here come Honda. Contact between the right-hander as they come through. So Ford into 8th position. Now it's Porsche in 9th. Now it's side by side between Volkswagen and Honda then as they come in towards the middle sector. They're going to flick it left. Honda on the inside versus Volkswagen. Did they manage to hold the line? Yes, they do. And now Ford is on the outside of Porsche, and now Ford is through into 8th place.
Well, this is the thing now. Ford have fallen somewhere because they were up with Lamborghini a couple of laps ago. I think at the moment shuffled back a little bit when that was going on. Porsche, though, still looking feisty. Not really a place to overtake these last 2 corners, but you wouldn't believe that, how close Bayliss is. And again, getting a bit too close, that allows the Honda to get involved as well. Looking back here, of course, there are your Team 4 drivers on the left there. Right now, it is Adam Wilk at the wheel. The Australian driver. He's been a Ford driver for as long as I can remember, so knows that Ford GT probably better than anybody right now, and is having to use all his expertise to keep the rest of his train behind him. Back up now to 6th and 7th place. That's Audi and Lamborghini. Very similar drivetrain and engine, these cars, as Audi has to go defensive. Lamborghini Troncoso go again. Just a lot of contact with him. He's very, very forceful, he is. Goes back up into 6th place, gets the slipstream done, pulls across, back up to 6th.
Nicely done there, and that's some kind of consolation there for Troncoso after getting absolutely duffed around in those opening few laps. Now on the recovery drive once again, an incident under investigation and warning then given for Ford for colliding with another car. We saw quite a smattering of contact there in that middle sector, and now Ford back through into 8th position, once more ahead of Porsche now. Meanwhile, at the front, Toyota leading the way by 7/10 of a second as it stands. So nicely done there for Adriano Carrazza, I should say, who is behind the wheel. Citroen there still 7/10 of a second back, but they're doing a good job of just holding enough of an advantage to not allow Alonso Regalado to challenge for the immediate future.
For now, yeah, of course, pit stops, we expect them at some point, so we'll see what's happening and going on there. He's still within slipstream range. 7/10 is still beginning a little bit of a tow there, so maybe just biding his time a little bit as you can do. Here we are, BMW now in the wheel tracks of Mercedes. This is going to be a fight I think we've seen for a while now. As Steve said, probably it's looking to work together. The gap they've got to Miyazono is 2.7 seconds. If you just about probably see if we move to the left here, just about see in the background there. There's the Impreza, there's that little blue dot on the horizon, that's the gap as it sits on track right now. You see Randall lifting off a little bit here. There aren't any fuel stops to be made here at all, so saving fuel isn't going to help you, but just being patient.
Patience is going to be key there in this race. Saw a bit of a wiggle coming out of that corner there for Randall Haywood as he just tries to get on the power a little bit too eagerly, riding on board with the American driver. Again, somebody who we're very familiar with seeing in our World Tour events previously. Good to see him fighting so well here with the BMW. Of course, fellow teammates of the BMW, Koke Lopez, who we saw in race 1, and Nicolas Rubelar as well. And we're keen to see what the Chilean driver can do in race number 3, the grand final coming up a little bit later on here today. So through the middle sector we go then as we look at Mercedes versus BMW. What do you think is going to be going through the mind here of Randall Haywood? He's behind the Mercedes-Benz, and likewise Audi versus Lamborghini, just being stuck behind them in those middle sectors. Do you think they're just going to sit there for a little while, and do you think they're just going to wait for the strategy to unfold before they pounce?
Say strategy unfold, there isn't a much strategy here. That's the problem. It's just pitch in, take time. So maybe fans coming in a lap early and trying to get the undercut if you're on a medium compounder tyre. That might work out, but it won't be enough, I think, to get clear, and that's sort of the problem here, because none of them are really gaining. VW, one of the first of the mid-pack then to come in and have a go on the soft tyres, try and move up the field a little bit. That's the problem around here. As soon as you get out the draft of the car in front, you sort of get left behind, and it's all the more impressive to see that at the moment, on his own, Miyazono, not needing anybody else.
No, seems to be running very nicely there. Takuma Miyazono has extended that lead now just up to under a second. And if we look at the strategy here in this race in terms of tyres, we're expecting the racing softs to be run for about 8 laps or so, then onto the mediums for the remaining 9 laps. So we're just about to come then into the pit window here, Steve. And what do you think is going to be going through the mind of the race leader of Adriano Corazza at the moment as it stands?
I think the main thing he's got to be thinking about is sort of his pit window. So he's going to go in the pit lane, he's going to lose a certain amount of time. He doesn't want to come out in traffic. That's going to be his problem. So he has to start thinking about where he's going to start coming out compared to the rest of the cars, compared to the midfield. So he's probably going to want the midfield to start pitting first, and then he'll probably pit after them.
The race strategy, this one. Again, I say strategy, it's not.
So you just told me it wasn't.
There's not much there to be had, but what other choice do you have right now? I mean, Troncoso in the background, he's getting a little bit closer to this BMW Mercedes fight. He's our leader, by the way. Adriano Corazza, he's led since the start of the race, in from behind with Regalado. Now we're getting some pit stops, and BMW and Subaru coming at the same time. Audi do not come in, neither do Mercedes-Benz, so we're seeing a bit of a divergence here, which will probably see Randall Haywood jump Cody Latkovsky. Subaru, of course, Miyazono on his own, looking to try and get a bit of a close the gap a little bit to Toyota and Citroën, and maybe attack at the end of the race. But already about a 4 or 5 second gap between Subaru and the top 2 drivers.
This is going to be exciting to see how it plays out. Here comes Subaru then out of the pit lane, then Takuma Miyazono behind the wheel. Where does he emerge? It's P8, and he's got a good bit of daylight in front of him as well. That's what you want after a pit stop. You'd like a nice bit of clear track if you're trying to close the gap down to the likes of these guys here, the Toyota and the Citroën. And that is exactly what will be a very welcome sight there for the Subaru driver. And of course they're on the soft tyre now to the end of the race, whereas of course Citroën and Toyota out in front are going to be on the medium compounded tyre towards the end of this one, as they have to run both compounded tyre, just to remind you here.
Of course, we're on board with Toyota right now, Corazza. Now, will we see him come over to the right-hand side of the circuit and come into the pit lane? Let's have a look as we come round the penultimate corner for the 8th time. Drives the car in deep there. Will he pull over to the right? No, he's going to take a couple more laps out of his tyre. The thing is now, Alonso Regalado is starting to pull back a little bit. I was going to say his gap coming down, that's because he's come into the pit lane, now going for that medium compounder tyre. He was starting to fall off the back of the Toyota, so maybe this is a good idea. Come onto that medium tyre, which whilst not as quick as a soft tyre, will be fresher, and then try and make the attack from there. Mercedes-Benz, Audi and Lamborghini also into the pit lane, as well as Mazda, who have been very anonymous this race so far. So this is going to be, for these guys, this is a sprint finish.
So then, new sets of Michelin rubber going on. Here comes Subaru. They're now into 4th position as it stands, just coming out of the pit lane there as well. You can see some of the mid-pack runners in this race. Looks like Mercedes-Benz, Audi also coming out of the pit lane. Volkswagen and Ford under investigation for colliding with another car. Toyota still lead the way though, just to remind you, on lap 9 out of 17, 14 seconds now ahead. Steve, in terms of the pit loss time then, if it stays as it is, where should we expect Toyota to come out when they emerge from the pit lane here?
let's say Porsche don't pit, they should be ahead, just ahead of Citroën. It'll be very close though, because Citroën, of course, getting that undercut. So let's see. They're probably going to come in this lap, I would have thought. So we're going to find out very soon.
Yeah, so we'll wait and see what happens when they come into the pit lane. This is the thing, a lap can make a difference, it really can. Interestingly, Ford there, slapped with a 1 second penalty, obviously getting a little bit too rough around here. We saw quite a bit of that at the start, but the stewards thinking Ford maybe crossed the line a little bit. Here is Cody in the car right now. Fair to say Cody's not quite been on the form that we've expected of him recently. He's sort of dropped off a little bit. He's someone very critical of his own driving, and I'm sure won't be happy not to be running at the front of the field, especially given just how strong that Mercedes-Benz is. So Toyota in the pit lane now. Here comes Karatza going onto that medium compounder tyre, Porsche in as well. The important thing is, where is Citroën? We're going to find out very, very shortly. Toyota come out the pit lane, that's Karatza of course. Look to the left, there is Citroën, they're quite a way back, so Toyota will still have quite a sizable gap, I think, coming out the pit lane. If anything, Citroën may have fallen back a little bit, but does have the overspeed. They'll have the tow as well, but I don't think they're going to be close enough for a move.
You're going to have warmer tyres, which may prove to be a little bit of a factor over the next couple of corners, but like you say, just I think a bit of a day late and $1 short. They're not quite close enough to mount a challenge. Subaru there now in 3rd position, but Subaru, of course, on the softer compound of tyre here as well. That's something to mention. They should, in theory, be a little bit quicker than the two drivers in front.
Well, this is when you're in Citroën and you look in your mirror and go, oh no, here come the soft runners.
Takuma Miyazono as well.
Yeah, old Takuma Miyazono. Yeah, it's going to be a tricky time for these guys at the front, because the tyre difference isn't as big as we've seen. They're a lot closer, these tyres, the softs and mediums, but if you are on that soft tyre, you do have an advantage. Mainly, the place you're going to really get the advantage is in the braking zone around here, because you might think, well, you don't get better brakes on soft tyre. No, but you get better grip, so you can slow down quicker, work the brakes a bit easier. So this is where that time is really going to help. So it's Toyota, Citroën in the background. Only 1.3 seconds behind Citroën now is Subaru. Behind that, BMW, Mercedes-Benz and Lamborghini. All of these cars gaining on the top two.
So Toyota coming out of the final corner there behind the wheel of that car. Just to remind you, of course, it is Adriano Karatza, the Brazilian driver, as he comes over the timing line. Citroën there in 2nd position. Alonso Regalado, who's behind the wheel, and Takuma Miyazono for Subaru there in 3rd place. Interestingly, the fastest team last time around, or the time around before that, I should say, it was Randall Hayward in the BMW, who's in 4th place. Also, of course, on the soft compound of tyre. I mean, we've got 6 laps left just over here now at this circuit, and I'm keen to see how much of the gap, which currently sits at 2.8 seconds to Subaru, Randall Hayward can close down.
Well, it's about half a second a lap, I think, between the soft and the mediums here at the moment, if our timings to be believed anyway. So that will be enough time for them to get onto the back of 1st and 2nd place. But as we've seen round here, catching someone is one part of it, but you have to also get by them. That's the important bit, and we know that Miyazono is no slouch when it comes to overtaking. We've seen his technique, which is very often just to put the car into the corner and say, well, if you don't move, we're going to have some contact, which is, to be honest, a fairly good strategy. There is Team Subaru, not a bad team, is it?
No, exactly. So, yes, Takuma Miyazono, Danny Solis, Mikael Hazal. I mean, if you could pick a lineup out of a hat, I think if you chose that one, you'd be pretty pleased with that. Just to give you an idea, by the way, the difference in pace. Last time around, Subaru, 127.635. Toyota in front was a 128 flat, so about 4 cents per second faster at the moment. So the gap's definitely coming down. Surely it's a matter of when and not if they mount a challenge.
Yeah, but of course, bear in mind, these soft tyres only have really a limited life of being quicker than the medium, so it's these laps now that matter most for Miyazono. It seems that Randall Hayward not quite on the same ballpark of pace right now, but the important thing is Subaru now have the draft from Citroën, so this is going to be probably the best overtaking opportunity Miyazono is going to have. Here is the view back from Regalado in the Citroën, and the Subaru gets bigger and bigger in the mirrors as the slipstream gets more and more prevalent, and Subaru goes to the outside. Miyazono just drives right by, and Regalado just let him have that. There was no defence at all, maybe giving him the place to try and get the draft back.
I think he could really do there, Alonso Regalado, and like you say, maybe he needs to just try and change up the tactics a little bit to try and close that gap down in turn to Toyota in front. You can see there in the background the ever-looming Mercedes-Benz, BMW, I should say, rather here as we ride on board here with Citroën now in P3, trying to hang on to the coattails of Subaru at the moment.
At the moment, yeah, it's a great onboard shot from this Citroën with the sort of fighter jet style dash there. Very much has the Subaru in his crosshairs at the moment. Our live point ranking on the screen at the moment. Right now, Mercedes would be leading with BMW second and Toyota third in the points rankings. But of course, remember, last race is double points. That could all go upside down if things don't go the way of the top three. On board still with Regalado coming through the second to last corner. And now Miezono needs to get onto the back of Corazza in the Toyota. I think he's got the pace. He's down to less than a second now, so it's only going to be a matter of time before we see a challenge for the lead. But the real question is, can the second group catch up and get involved as well?
Steve, what do you reckon about that?
Yeah, that's probably why I would say that's why the Citroen let the Subaru through, because he's just conscious of that group behind, doesn't want them to catch up, doesn't want to fight with Miezono too much, therefore just eliminating that fight, eliminating time loss, let him go through, getting the tow, and hopefully that will mean that the group behind won't catch up.
You've got to use your head sometimes in racing, not all the time though. Sometimes a big old send is the remedy for your problems.
What was it you said yesterday? Big sends?
Yeah, big sends or get out, not interested. That's how it is. And we've seen a couple of them so far, and I've got a feeling we might see one more at some point. But saying that, Toyota actually managed to keep the same gap on the straight there, so not quite in the draft is Miezono. This is where he will gain if he does. Through this middle sector, this is where having better tyres really helps the most. Just a little bit better cornering, of course, a bit better with the braking as well. And as I say that, he takes about a 10th out of Toyota in the first part of that alone. And dirty air, not really a thing in these cars. There is a little bit, of course, because they do have a better downforce, but nothing as crazy as X2019, for example.
Yeah, nice to see that we can have some close racing, especially at this circuit as well, because there's so many medium speed corners that if we were, say, in a higher downforce car, you'd probably see a little bit more in terms of that dirty air coming into play. But no such worries here in these Group 3 cars. Over the timeline we go then once more to start lap number 14 out of 17, and still it is the Toyota that leads the way as it stands at the moment. That gap definitely coming down to 0.8 of a second. Mercedes-Benz, meanwhile, closing down onto the back of BMW. That's for fourth position. You can see here Cody Nikolakowski, the driver who is behind the wheel. Randall Hayward, the guy who will be looking in his mirrors ever more so as that Mercedes-Benz looms ever closer. Of course, Mercedes won the first race for the Manufacturer Series World Final a little bit earlier on here today, but they are now only harrying for fourth position, and Cody is now the man who is on the attack. You can see that Randall knows that as well. He pulls towards the inside line, tries to get offensive, but surely we can see that Cody's going to try to attack. He pulls into the slipstream, he pulls out of the slipstream, he goes deeper on the brakes and goes through into P4.
Yeah, all points matter there. One more point on the board for Mercedes with that overtake. Will they now go after Citroen? Of course they will. So Cody can smell blood in the water. That Citroen, I think, starting to struggle a bit on their medium compounder tyres. Cody's kept the softs alive so far, got past Randall Hayward pretty much as quick as he could, and now will go after Citroen, of course. Now look, Miezono only half a second behind Corazza in the Toyota, so getting to the point now where we can really see the possibility to move on board with the Japanese driver now in the Japanese Subaru WRX through the last corner, and now in the draft coming down the straight. Great onboard shots there, and now Corazza is aware that Miezono is on his rear spoiler, pulling to the inside of the circuit to try and break the toe. Comes back over for T1, tries to get a good exit out of the corner. Does he? It's okay, but Miezono's is better, and now he's really homing in on the back of the Toyota.
We know that Subaru is very fast in a straight line there as well. We can see Mercedes versus BMW. That battle surely isn't going to be over for position as they come through the left-handed kink of turn 2. Ready to go onto the brakes of turn 3. Is Hayward going to be able to retaliate? Just hasn't got the grip under braking compared to Cody Nikolakowski, and Lakowski lives to fight another day in fourth place. You can see a big old squirrel there as he just tries to get onto the power a little bit too eagerly. Randall Hayward manages to gather it up, but he's lost a couple of tenths of a second, and that's just going to put him out of contention to try and move down in towards this corner of turn number 4.
It just seems that Subaru, that WRX, just doesn't quite have the grunt top end. That Toyota does. It can keep the speed at the top, even with someone in the draft behind. So this is how close Miezono really needs to be to get the move done at the end of one of the straights. Again, coming through this middle sector, this is where the Subaru is strong, but a bit too close now. You can see that little bit of dirty air, just that tiny bit, starting to affect Miezono behind. He is now, though, running out of laps. We'll be coming on to the penultimate lap next time around, so really only a few more attempts for the Japanese driver to get by Corazza.
When do you think he's going to be looking then? We know turn 3, we know turn 4 are the opportune places to pass, but if he hasn't got the straight line speed, if he hasn't got that grunt, where are you going to be thinking about?
I think he needs to use that initial bite out of the corner and perhaps have a go down towards T4 into the downhill corner. Maybe get a good run out of the hairpin and just get nice and close. Honda interested in coming in for another stop. I think they've given up the ghost. But here is Subaru. This is going to be maybe the chance for the race here. Miyazono deep in the wheel tracks of Toyota in front, but again, just not quite closing up as much as he needs to. He's heavy on the brakes, so he's going to try and, I think, cut back and get a better run out of the corner. Karatsa masterfully there, just sits on the apex. He's going to use the power of the Toyota on exit to try and defend. And look at the Toyota drive away from the Subaru in a straight line.
There we go, down in towards turn 4. This surely would be the opportunity, but it's not going to be one there for Subaru and Takuma Miyazono. Meanwhile, P3's ready to change hands. Here comes Cody. Oh, big old defensive driving there from Alonso Regalado. Cody pulls alongside on exit, coming through as they go side by side through the right-hander, and Cody is up into the podium positions for Mercedes-Benz. Once again, Regalado's going to try and retaliate into the left-hander, not able to find his way through. It's Mercedes-Benz and Nikola Laskovski back onto the podium.
Tell you what, you're not going to out-aggressive Cody. I'll tell you that. You can try, but you see Cody saw it coming, and that is a wise head there on young shoulders. Just saw the move coming, got the cut back up into third place now, and he's in a prime position to pick up the pieces if anything happens between Subaru and Toyota. Speaking of which now, coming round the last corner to start the last lap of the race, and this is going to be the final chance for Subaru and Miyazono to take the win here in the second race of the Manufacturers Series, and it looks like he's looking to the outside. I think Karatsa was trying to break the toe there, but Miyazono didn't follow, and now a much better run through T1. This could be it.
Here we go then into the slipstream once more there for Subaru. Great legs for that Toyota though as they come up the hill in towards turn 3. He's trying everything he can here, Takuma, but you can see that there as well as they go into the left, the right-hander onto the brakes. We go very defensive there from Karatsa, parks it on the apex. Great run out though from the Subaru of Takuma Miyazono. Is he going to be able to pull alongside as they come down this straight then? They're nose to tail with one another, but surely it's going to be Karatsa who's got the straight line speed, because you can see Takuma Miyazono's trying his hardest, trying to go around the outside into turn 4, but not able to find his way through, trying to get the switch back through there. But again, he's close, but not quite close enough as it stands, coming into the middle sector. This is great tension between these drivers. Citroën now are back ahead as well of Mercedes-Benz, so Alonso Regalado has managed to get the better of Cody Nikola Laskovski here on this final lap. Let's see whether it stays that way until the checkered flag, and let's see what happens then here coming through these final couple of corners. Riding on board we are still with Takuma Miyazono. Karatsa again pulls to the right-hand side of the track, then moves over left, trying to break the toe for the Japanese driver. Side by side we are in the background for the final podium position as well between Citroën. Here we go then, Toyota defending once more. Miyazono trying to go the long way around the outside, switch back on the inside. Side by side they go, and Miyazono and Subaru take the victory on the line. That is fantastic. Takuma Miyazono and Subaru win it on the line in race 2 of the Manufacturers Series final. Toyota finish in second place. Citroën take third ahead of Mercedes-Benz. What a great final lap here in the Manufacturers Series.
You cheeky boy. That was fantastic. He really just set that up. You see, Karatsa's there just like, oh, really? Come on, man. I defended that entire time. And Miyazono, showing why he's one of the best drivers in the world, did not give up right till the very end. And something that we might have missed, actually, is Citroën managed to sneak back by Mercedes and finish in third place. So action all the way to the end.
Fantastic racing there. Huge congratulations to Subaru then. Mercedes lead the points going into the grand final for the Manufacturer Series. They are just 2 points ahead of Subaru in second place. And then comes BMW, who are going to be on 16 points in third position going into that grand final. The grand final is about to be on the way in just a few moments' time for the Manufacturer Series for the 2020 FIA GT Championships. We're at Interlagos. What a thrilling prospect that is going to be in these Group 3 cars. But before we do that, I think we should probably just have a quick look as we got our breath back over Race 2's Manufacturers Series highlights. It was just a phenomenal race from lights to flag, wasn't it? Toyota led the way at the start.
So it started off quiet, but that would be a lie. Everyone was squabbling for position very early on. Here was Mercedes and BMW, Cody and Randall. They were fighting for pretty much the entire race. Cody quick early on and Randall a little bit too enthusiastic on that throttle there. Here was Citroën Subaru as Miyazono on a fresher set of soft tyres started to make its way up towards the front of the field.
And this was into the closing stages of the race. At least you can see Mercedes-Benz getting themselves ahead of BMW once again. Nikola Laskovski ahead of them. And then he tried to attack Citroën, did Nikola Laskovski. Alonso Regalado having to settle for second best at that particular point on the penultimate lap. Wasn't long though before Regalado decided to try and retaliate, but it was the final corner where things came unstuck for Toyota. They led every single corner on that race, but for the last one, and to the line as well. Meanwhile, side by side as well between Citroën and Mercedes-Benz for third position. You can see what it meant to Takuma Miyazono here. Absolute elation on the Japanese driver's face and devastation on Adriano Carrazza's.
Well, Toyota left every lap apart from the last one, so you can imagine quite frustrating. There are the official results then. So it's Miyazono for Subaru, Toyota second, Citroën and Regalado third, right on the line, we saw that there, and Mercedes-Benz are now current points leader, or should I say retaining the points lead in fourth position. But now after that, it's very close in the rankings. Subaru, who might say have never actually qualified for one of these World Finals before, are now in second place, only 2 points off the lead, with double points up for play in the last round.
Doesn't get much closer than that, does it? I'm really looking forward to the Grand Final. As you said, double points, 24 a maximum on offer for this Grand Final. And that means that anything could happen. And to be honest, with the GT Championships, it usually does.
Exactly. I'm looking forward for the Coque Lopez style of the Nations Cup, where he comes flying back in and someone from the bottom of the field takes it. But I'm looking forward to this because we've got the big guns out for the last race. So
yeah, absolutely. Just to reference, by the way, when he said Nations Cup, he means the EMEA regional finals, not the World Finals.
Yeah,
that's still to come.
We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. We don't know what's going to happen. If you do, let us know. Anyway, so that's along the way, I'm sure, very, very shortly. The Manufacturer Series Grand Final along the way next. But first, we should probably speak to the winner, Takuma Miyazono. He's talking to Julia.
Hi, Takuma. We talk again. How are you?
I didn't think I could win, so unbelievable.
Oh, yes. Look at this. Practicing English. I'm loving it. How fast was your heart racing in that final bit of the lap just before you overtook? How fast was it?
本当狙ってたんですけど、まさか思い通りに行くとは思ってなかったので、もうどれだけ上がったかっていうのももう覚えてないぐらい興奮しました。
So you remember we talked yesterday and I said you were the master strategist and you were like, oh no, see? You totally are. That was such a good play.
ありがとうございます。今日に関しては本当にチームメイトのミックとダニエルのおかげで戦略をきっちり決めることができたので、本当に自分だけじゃなくてチームの勝利というか、もうみんなのおかげですね。
Speaking of team, have you got any advice for Mick going into that grand final?
あんまりなんかもう自分からアドバイスできることってないので、もう彼に全部任せて、あとはもう祈ろうかなっていうふうに思ってます。
Okay, well you go and relax now, Takuma, and I'm sure we'll be talking again probably at some point. So yeah, speaking of Mick, actually, if you don't know too much about our previous Gran Turismo winner, I mean you should do really, but in case you don't, here's a little catch up for you.
My year as a GT champion has been quite relaxing so far, so don't worry guys. My name is Mikael Lizal. I'm the 2019 FIA Gran Turismo Nations Cup World Champion. And for this year, I'm participating in the Manufacturers Cup Series for Team Subaru. There's only one goal for me, which is to win the Manufacturers Cup Series with my teammates. If I had to compare myself with the other competitors, personally I don't really know where I actually would stand at the moment, but I have seen a lot of new guys, and also like from the previous year, so many guys improving themselves, and I'm really looking forward to see the outcome of it. Ja, Versprecher. My favorite superheroes are my parents. My favorite GT car is the Subaru Impreza 22B. My favorite GT track is El Capitan. I'm a morning person. I love cookies. If I would be a superhero, I would like to have lightning powers. Ich weiß nicht, ob ich überhaupt das Sucht habe eigentlich. It's not like only about the driving skill here, it's also about the mentality, as well as being personally fit, like physically fit about it. There's so many areas which you need to focus on yourself in order to be a really top driver even. Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, mean, it's not like we really need to be updated on Mick Hizal. He is a Gran Turismo stalwart, like right from the get-go. He's always it's been kind of weird that he hasn't been around, actually. It's kind of a sort of Hizal-shaped hole in our heart. So we are super glad to have him back. Now, before we get into the next race, though, we actually have another little update from the man behind Gran Turismo, Yamauchi-san. Let's hear what he's got to say.
グランツーリズムを作る時に限らないんですけれども、最近僕気づいたんですが、なんて言うんでしょうね、こう今を生きているように見えて、実は未来を生きてるんですよね。今こうしてワールドファイナルが始まろうとしていますけれども、その瞬間にはすでにもう来年のワールドファイナルの始まりっていうことも想像しているんですよ。だからなんか一見今を生きてるように見えて、常に未来の時間も同時に生きているっていうのが、僕のものの考え方だったり、あるいはものの作り方の特徴なんじゃないかなっていう気はしています。
Oh, it's so nice. It's like getting a little Christmas message from the family there. I'm fully here for it. And it's a shame we haven't been able to do things quite so sort of face-to-face this year, but I'm hopeful that it's all going to come back next year and we'll get to hang out in person. I guess we should, I don't know, maybe kick off the grand final now. Should we do that for the Manufacturer Series? What do you reckon, Tom and Jimmy?
Yeah, cheers, Julia. Thanks very much. It's very exciting to get this grand final underway. I'm pretty buzzed for this. I mean, given what happened like in race 2 just a few moments ago, this is setting the tone really nicely.
I mean, we've had such a strong field of drivers. It's only going to get a bit more crazy as we go into the last races. Both our 2018 and 2019 Nations Cup champions are in this third one. So
yeah, it's going to be spicy, isn't it? Let's have a look, shall we, and just remind you what happened in race 1 and 2 of the Manufacturer Series World Finals here today then. So race number 1 was, of course, at the Sardegna Road Course A layout. It was Mercedes-Benz who led the way from pole position. It all went wrong for Porsche in the mid-stages of the race. They found a very quick route to the barrier on the outside, and then quite a lot of cars had to take avoiding action. Meanwhile, Mercedes-Benz managed to leapfrog Ford and got themselves back into the race lead, where they would stay until the end of the race. Ford finishing in 2nd place and Honda getting 3rd position there as well. You can see Lucas Spinelli, that's what it meant to him. And then race 2 was at the Red Bull Ring.
Yep, Toyota led this one, of course, as you know, as you've just watched this, and the Subaru came back through the field after an alternate strategy on the soft tyres at the end, so very fast in Miazone at the wheel. Mercedes-Benz and Citroën had a great fight, which would end off with Citroën taking the win right at the last moment, but Toyota led all the race apart from that last corner, where Miazone snuck by and the Subaru took the win right at the end. Citroën doing the same thing to Mercedes-Benz, taking 3rd, and Miyazono there, very happy boy, a bit surprised I think.
Yeah, not surprising there at all for him to be so happy, at least. Disappointment on the other side for Adriano Carrazza. Here's how the points sit then after the 2 races. So Team Mercedes-Benz are on top, 19 points. They have a 2-point advantage over Subaru going into the grand final. BMW there in 3rd position on 16 points. Toyota on 14. Lamborghini and Ford tied for 5th on 11 as it stands. Citroën and Honda tied for 7th on 8. And then you can see Audi, Porsche, Volkswagen, Mazda down there with just 1 solitary point as it stands as well.
I think realistically, top 4, those are the ones to watch. Those are the guys in with a chance of double points coming up at Interlagos.
So speaking of Interlagos then, that of course is the venue for our grand final in the Manufacturer Series. Interlagos, what a track it is. Based in Sao Paulo in Brazil, it's hosted the Formula 1 Grand Prix since the 80s. You can see 4.3 kilometres full of lovely medium speed corners. And this of course is the first time we get to see proper strategy involved in terms of racing hard, medium and soft tyres.
That's right, Tom. Tyre wear rate at 6 times as well, so those tyres will fall away fairly quickly, and that'll have a big effect in that middle sector where all the time is found. You'll know that as you watched my video earlier, of course, as the professional that I am. Big overtaking spots down towards T4 and, of course, up to T1 down to Center S.
30 laps for these drivers as well. That is going to be a very exciting time for us there commentating on it, and we hope for you watching it at home as well. In terms of what it means for the strategy, this is what we're expecting. If you start on the softs, you'll be doing 9 laps on those, 10 laps on the mediums, and 11 laps on the hards. If you do start on the mediums, you'll go on 2 stints on the, 3 stints rather, I should say, onto the soft tyre, and then you'll go for 1 lap on the hard tyre towards the end of this one.
So we have been told the 4-stop strategy is possible, as you can see at the bottom there, but it requires you to basically full yeet the entire time, full send. You have to be going full throttle. Any mistake and it's not going to work. There is going to be fueling as well. About 24 laps you'll make on the full tank around here. So a little bit of fuel saving if you're in a pack, and we've seen how much of a difference that can make. That could be the difference to becoming first or coming third.
Well, exactly, yeah. I'm really excited to see how the drivers are going to be faring over the course of this one. Let's go down then to Steve, Super GT, shall we? Steve, you've got some updates on our Michelin Driver of the Day.
Yeah, just looking at the early candidates for Driver of the Day, we've had some really good drives so far today. So race 1, let's not forget in the Ford, Tatsuhiko Kato with a really good drive to second, and then of course Miyazono with that win in race 2. So those guys looking early contenders, but let's see in the grand final if anyone can add their name to that list.
Yeah, cheers there, Steve. Looking forward to seeing whether he will be able to, any of the drivers will be able to do that. Of course, we've got 2 Nations Cup champions in this one, Igor Fraga, Mikael Hazal. Well, you can't count those boys out, can you?
I've been fanboying a bit today. I love seeing these guys on track, because it's always just this massive battle.
When was the last time we saw them both together, though, like this, properly? Man.
I think it was, 2019. Whenever Igor just missed.
Must have been Monaco last year.
At the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really hoping that they have a better time out of it out on track. So let's see what happens then as we get ready for Go Racing for the grand final. As the Subaru heads out of the pit lane then, we get ready for the final part of qualifying for the grand final for the Manufacturers Series. The second group going out in this session. To remind you, it's a 1-lap Super Pole qualifying session. Drivers only get 1 shot at their flying laps. As you can currently see, it is BMW who sit fastest on a 1 minute 29.984. Meanwhile, you can see this man here in the Subaru. That, of course, is none other than Mikael Hazal, who is going to be trying to overhaul him. And he's a bit of a qualifying specialist.
Quick Mick. We expect him really to see him on the front no, and him and Miyazono especially. Actually, and Daniel Sorensen, they've been really trying to represent this Subaru over the course of the years. And one of the conversations I'd always have with Mick at live events is, have you managed to get Subaru qualified yet? And say, no, not yet, not this time. But this time they're here at the grand final and within a real shot of actually taking the entire thing here. So if you didn't know, these guys currently second in the standings behind Mercedes, but super strong field in this last race. So it's not going to be as simple as just getting a good qualifying place.
This Interlagos circuit, of course, a very tricky track full of lots of medium speed corners, lots of high speed areas as well. Nothing really that's particularly slow around here, but for a couple of hairpins, but nothing too tight. It's a very much a driver focused circuit. You can see Mikael Hazal winding up the Boxer engine Subaru WRX, ready to start his one and only flying lap in this session. All drivers, of course, setting their flying lap times on the soft competitive tyre. So coming through as he goes over the timing line and heads down towards the centre S. Then you've got to pick your braking point coming into here. Wait for it. Makes it very nicely into there. Hard on the brakes, clips the curb on the left-hand side, focusing on the exit of this corner, as we saw with Jimmy Broadbent's lap guide coming through here. Flick it through the left, and you want to get a good exit coming out of here so you don't carry that mistake all the way down the Retta Raposta.
Making noises because my lap guide maybe not quite as quick as this. Yeah, but these guys are obviously. I tried cheating with super soft tyres as well. They're still faster than me. But right now, Mick up in the first sector. Here comes Toyota coming down now to their first sector as well. Also up on the BMW time, that is Yamanaka. Of course, a very quick guy, and again, a Toyota specialist, been in that car for as long as I can remember. Citroen as well.
Koke Mizuno behind the wheel of that car, the Japanese driver. He, of course, is somebody, again, who we hold in very high esteem. What about Porsche? They've had a dog of a day so far. Started off strongly, and it's just gone bad to worse for them there, really. Ankel Stroza now behind the wheel, of course. He won the Manufacturer Series in Tokyo last year on his first ever appearance, a debut appearance, so he knows he's got what it takes to win. Can he put in a strong performance here on the grid, though?
Same team. Completely the same team from Tokyo in there. Unfortunately, they've not really found success since then. Mercedes, Baptiste Beauvoir, first time we've seen him this weekend, looking very strong out there in the Mercedes. It's looking like that BMW is about to be shuffled down the field as we see the Subaru. Mick Hazal, of course, at the wheel of that, going to be setting the first time of the second group. Comes across the timing line. What's it going to be for him? It's not provisional pole. That Subaru struggling up the hill, only good enough for third.
I was worried about that. I thought he didn't have the grunt in the straight line, and so it proved to be. Toyota with Yamanaka over the timing line. He goes through, only 7th quickest as it stands in this session. That's not a quick lap time at all there for Yamanaka. Work to do there for him on race day. Here comes Citroen then. Koke Mizuno behind the wheel. What can he do? Over over the line he comes. It's only 7th fastest, 2.5 tenths down. But look at Porsche, and look crucially at the timing screens, because over the line comes the Porsche. Innestrosa takes 3rd position, not quite enough at the end of that one. Then what about Audi? Behind the wheel, Manuel Rodriguez, only 10th fastest. And here come Mercedes-Benz, then a 10th of a second down. Behind the wheel of that is Baptiste Beauvoir, the Frenchman. He comes over the timing line, takes 4th place, so nobody was able to topple BMW. Nicolas Rubilar, the Chilean driver, takes pole position. A whole season's worth of racing then comes down to this. What a prospect we have in place for us. The Interlagos circuit in Brazil plays host to the grand final. We're about to crown our 2020 Manufacturers Series champions. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. A whole season's worth of racing comes down to this then as we get ready to crown our 2020 champion. Here's how the grid lines up then in the Manufacturers Series. Nicolas Rubilar for BMW on pole position at Interlagos. Igor Fraga, the 2018 Nations Cup champion, alongside him for Honda. Row 2 is headed by Porsche and Angel Innestrosa for Chile. Alongside the Chilean driver, it's Mercedes-Benz. Baptiste Beauvoir for France is doing the honours here in the last race. Then it is Subaru Turkey's Mikael Hazal. Alongside Mick, it is the Ford of Adam Tapai, the Hungarian driver. A good lap time there from him. Then comes Mazda, Ryota Kokoban, the Japanese driver in the RX Vision GT3 machine, with Lamborghini's Thomas Scabilia alongside him representing France. Citroën Koke Mizuno is P9, and completing the top 10 is Toyota with Tomoyuki Yamanaka. The final row of the grid is comprised of Audi, Manuel Rodriguez in P11. And at the back of the grid is Volkswagen, Nicky Romero, the Spanish driver. Complete our 12-driver strong grid then. So, Jimmy, going into this one, it's Mercedes who hold a 2-point advantage over Subaru, but of course it's double points here. What do you reckon?
That's right. It's this is the big one. This is the one you got to focus on, of course. Realistically, it's between 4 or 5 manufacturers, and as you said, Mercedes currently leading from a Subaru, who are starting 4th and 5th on the grid. Interestingly, Mercedes, for our title fight anyway, have gone for the medium tyre, whereas Subaru gone for the hard, with our top 2 teams, including BMW and Honda, both on the soft to try and get away early. 30 laps though around here. It's going to be a race of strategy and consistency.
36 drivers, 12 manufacturers. Only one can be crowned the 2020 Nations Cup Manufacturers Series World Champion here at Interlagos. We're about to find out who that will be. BMW and Nicolas Rubilar ready to lead the field over the timing line, followed by Igor Fraga. We go racing here for the grand final in the Manufacturers Series. BMW leads the field down towards the centre S for the first time here at Interlagos, followed by Honda, followed by Porsche. The top 2 starting on the soft compound of tyre, followed by the medium shod Porsche and the medium shod Mercedes-Benz. The rest of the field are on hards. So let's see what that means as they come through turn 3 and down the Retroposta for the first time then. So BMW with Rubilar leads the way, followed by Igor Fraga, followed by the Porsche. Behind the wheel, that's Angel Innestrosa, the Chilean driver, already falling into the clutches. The Mercedes-Benz and Baptiste Beauvoir looking pretty close, but the top 2, as expected, putting a bit of daylight between themselves and the Porsche there.
Yeah, they've got to do that early. They've got to be smart enough to work together in this first part of the race. BMW and Honda there, Porsche in the background, Mercedes-Benz behind them. Then we have the hard tyre runners, which make up the majority of the field around here. So we'll expect to see the top 4 cars sort of pull away from that pack there at the back of the field. Meanwhile, on board with Honda, and of course that's Fraga. He's driven around here quite a bit in real life. Actually, I chatted with him about it the other day. So it's actually quite close to real life, so a bit of an advantage there, possibly. but right now definitely not phasing the BMW driver, of course, which is Nico Rubler. We used to call him Mr. Hot Lap. I think he very much lived up to that reputation in qualifying, pole position.
Yeah, not looking too bad at all out there under race trim as it stands there either. Already coming to the end of the first lap, such is the short nature of this Interlagos circuit. You can see the hard tyre runners from 5th all the way down to 12th position running very close to one another. We're just looking at the Mazda RX Vision Gran Turismo car. Meanwhile, we can see that the hard runners are coming into the pit lane then at the end of the first lap, wanting to get off those tyres as soon as they possibly can. I wonder if that indicates we're going to see more forced stops than we were anticipating.
Yeah, we thought the forced stop was one of those strategies that we thought, well, you have to push to make it work, and straight away everyone going on, well, seemingly starting off the strategy that way. It may not be the forced stopper, but we're going on to the medium tyre, with the exception of Mazda, which I would say probably going for that soft tyre, not the best idea. There's our strategies down the bottom, and as you can see, a lot of people going for that one right down the bottom, which is 4 stops. Not sure what's going to happen yet, but we'll see.
Time will tell on this occasion, I'm sure. Igor Fraga still putting a lot of pressure onto the rear wing of Nicolas Rubler. Quite a significant gap, 2.2 seconds now sits between themselves and Angel Edestroza, who in turn has got a 1.3 second margin. Meanwhile, come back to that in a few moments. It's Mazda versus Subaru. Mazda on the soft compound of tyre, easy to get themselves ahead, at least, of Subaru in terms of their difference in pace. They are now through into 5th position. They jump to the head of this queue.
Yeah, of course, Subaru there, driven by Mikazal. Knows his way around it, as does Igor, of course, and this is what Mazda needed. They needed to get by Subaru as quick as they could. They now have 10 seconds to Mercedes-Benz, and that's currently has Baptiste both wide at the wheel, so they've got time to use this soft tyre, which is really important. So this could be a masterstroke here. Kokubun at the wheel of that as well. He won the first Asia Oceania regional final back in 2018, then won in Tokyo as well. Somebody who performed very well at home. Guess where he is right now.
Exactly, yeah, sat at home and doing a brilliant job out there on track as he comes over the timing line, already on lap 3 then here into Interlagos as the field comes streaming on through down in towards the Cenarettes. So the top 4 manufacturers, BMW, Honda, Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, the only ones who have not pitted yet so far. Pretty much everybody else on the, well, everybody else, in fact, up and down the field, of course, have made their first stop. They're presumably opting for a 4-stop strategy, whereas we may see the likes of the top 4 opting for something a little bit different. Maybe we can get a quick word with Steve on that a little bit later on once things pan out a bit more. But these drivers, of course, just taking things pretty easily. You shouldn't see anybody making too many rash moves, at least at the starting points in this race, because at this stage, as we always seem to allude to, they have a lot more to lose than they do to gain. It's a long race.
Yeah, 30 laps around here. So really all you do is kind of set yourself up for that last stint, the last few laps, and that means driving a perfect race up until then. Some instance involving Volkswagen. They've been abusing track limits somewhat, usually quite cut and dry of our stewards, so I'm sure they see something wrong and they'll give them a slap. Probably just a warning for now, though, for the first offence. On board then with Honda, of course, with Igor has been doing a lot of real-life racing this year, and I think it's fair to say that it's affected his driving in GT, not quite being the same Fraga we've been used to.
No, we have seen more performance from Fraga, certainly in years gone by, and events gone by, but of course he has been racing in F3, and I've seen a few comments on some of the races that we've commented on saying, oh, it looks like we're making excuses for him, but, you know, it is a genuine reason as to why perhaps he hasn't been quite as on form as we've seen him in past events. And, you know, he's doing a good job out there in P2 at the moment. Of course, his teammates as well have really helped his case with some strong performances here today for Honda as well. Valerio Gallo and, of course, we just saw Shohei Suwamori, and keen to see how Igor is going to be able to get on here out on track. You can see the live points rankings on the right-hand side of your screen. If the race stopped now, if a red flag was thrown, it would be BMW who would be crowned the Manufacturer Series champions of 2020. Mercedes-Benz, Honda, and then Subaru, and then Porsche. Interestingly, of course, if it was BMW, they would be the first non-Japanese manufacturer to win the series.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because of course it was Lexus in 2018,
Toyota
last year.
Yeah, that would be a nice accolade, but of course a long way to go. And that's something we're going to be saying a lot in this race, because we do have a lot of time yet to elapse. There is, again, Igor. Right now, Nico's doing a great job at keeping Igor behind. This is how it's going to be for a while, and it says essentially any of the top 4 teams from the first couple of races, which are Toyota, Mercedes-Benz, BMW and Subaru, essentially whoever wins is going to be champion. Whoever wins in this race, I should say. Right now, of course, it looks like BMW and Honda are running away from the field, but bear in mind, outside of the top 4, everybody else has stopped once. You have to stop at least twice to take each different sort of tyres, and we think that some drivers and some teams are actually going to stop 4 times, so a lot to go before now on lap 30.
Well, Steve, the field relatively spread out owing to the early pit stops from the drivers who started on the harder compound of tyre. Presumably we're going to expect the race to come to those guys a little bit later on once they, of course, have worked out their strategy. But with so many running that same strategy, I mean, we've got drivers from 5th down to 12th, all on. It's effectively what we assume is the same strategy there. Do you think that that's going to kind of negate the advantage you might get from running that 4-stopper? So busy you can't even think about it.
I mean, you gave him the longest question in the world there, so I think you've probably confused him. Steve, do we have you there, mate, or not?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you now there.
Oh, jolly good. Okay, yeah. I think they've all done the same thing there because they're wanting to stay in the slipstream of each other and save fuel. We haven't really spoken about fuel, we've spoken about the tyres, but by sitting behind the other car, we've seen it in previous races like the GR Super Cup. You can sit behind to save a lot more fuel in the slipstream, so that's certainly going to be a factor. So many times you want to actually stay with other cars in the race.
That's interesting. I didn't really think about it like that, actually. As you say, the first time we've spoken about fuel in this race so far, there's a car that's going to be burning all of it. The rotary Mazda RX concept there, making its way off the circuit slightly. Don't be doing that too much. And getting a bad run up there, of course, means you carry that mistake all the way down to T1, so he'll be happy with that. But right now, I'm noticing that Honda's starting to fall off the pack of BMW, which means they're not going to be getting that tow anymore. And we have heard that the mid-engine cars are a little bit worse on tyres, and that Honda is mid-engined.
It's just having a look at the difference in lap times between the two of them. Last time around, BMW was a 1:30.5. Igor Fraga with the Honda was a 1:30.7. So only a couple of tenths of a second in it, but of course every tenth of a second counts. If you fall out of that slipstream range, as Igor seems to be doing at the moment, he could be up a creek without a paddle, so to speak, if you like. I'm paraphrasing there, but we'll get back to that in a few moments' time, because here comes Lamborghini onto the back of Ford, down the Retroposta, in towards the fourth turn on this circuit. Not able to find a way through there at the moment. Behind the wheel of that Ford, as it stands, is Adam Tapai, the Hungarian driver, and he, of course, as we said, has got the Lamborghini Thomas Scabilia behind the wheel, who we saw him in qualifying, and we saw his driver cam. He was really frustrated with the lap time he put in.
Yeah, you can be your own worst enemy in qualifying sometimes, just get into your own head, and I think that's what happened there. He's I don't know what he was saying, but I don't think it was anything happy, to be honest. So, making his way back up through the field, though, he's got Ford and Subaru in front in terms of people still in the same strategy. You notice that Subaru's starting to put away from the rest of his pack as well, so that's important for them. But as Steve said, they won't be saving any fuel doing that. So, is it worth the extra 2 seconds they have on the track now to be pushing? We'll have to find out.
Running on board here then with Citroen, Koke Mizuno behind the wheel, the Japanese driver just coming through the left-hander on towards the start-finish straight. Easy flat through there, as you can see, and you can see Lamborghini lining up a move with Ford as Citroen coming to the pit lane then. Side by side we go down the start-finish straight. Ford on the inside, Lamborghini on the outside. Who's going to blink first onto the brakes? Ford blinked first, allows Lamborghini to go through, and they're now back into 7th position then. So Thomas Scabilia moves up into P7, but the advantage, of course, for the Ford and Adam Tapai is, of course, that he now has the slipstream.
We like that. That's fuel saving, real fuel saving hours time for the Ford at the moment. So a bit of a coast coming there, a bit of a short shift. Steve was saying that short shifting a bit more effective for coasting. So we're doing a little bit of that around here. Here is Toyota, Yamanaka at the wheel of that, and a bit further back than we expect really from Toyota. Not looking very very fighty at this point in the race.
Our Italian commentators will not be best pleased.
Say Italian, it's Andrea. It's just Andrea, he loves it.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like Andrea when he gets passionate over Tomoyuki Yamanaka. They're down in 9th position as it stands at the moment then. Toyota not having quite the level of performance that we saw from them in 2019. If you remember last year, back in Monaco, they won the Manufacturers Series, became the champions of that year, and well, this year it has not gone their way so far. They currently sit with 14 points on the board if you compare that to Mercedes-Benz, who are provisionally at the top. Meanwhile, BMW are in the pit lane then. They come onto the soft compound tyre, releasing Honda to lead the race. So they are the first to blink then. Are they trying to undercut Honda here, do you reckon?
They need to make sure, I'm just double checking they come out in space here, because if they come out with someone else in front of them, it's going to completely ruin that soft tyre strategy. And yeah, I think the undercut is what they're aiming for, just waiting to see pit exit. Here is Mercedes-Benz. Will they be able to get by BMW? I think they will there. That's Baptiste Beauvoir side by side coming out of the pit lane there with Nico Rubelard, the Chilean driver, and that's it done. That's going to be a bit of a nightmare for Nico. He needs to get back by as quick as he can. He was hoping for clear air, but we know Baptiste, we know that he's a fighter, and he'll know that he needs to hold up the BMW as much as he can now on this medium tyre. So that's going to be a bit of a kick in the teeth for Nico.
Through the right-hander they go, and Nico knows he needs to get past, and here's an opportunity potentially presenting itself up the inside of Baptiste Beauvoir. Goes Nicolas Rubelard side by side with the BMW and the Mercedes. Mercedes on the inside now as they flick it left. BMW on the outside, but more supreme grip from those soft tyres gives him the opportunity to get back through into third place. That is very crucial for their strategy here.
And Nico must have heard my request for the big send, because there it was, chucked it up the inside of Baptiste, got it done early, and he had to do that. He did that. There was no, he couldn't have waited any longer. He's already lost time having to do that with Baptiste Beauvoir, so that would have played into the hands of Honda and Fraga, who are still out front right now. Are they coming into the pit lane now or going in? So Fraga's into the pit lane, also going for the same strategy, so soft to soft. Now we'll see how much that cost Nico Rubelard. He still had the fresher tyre, remember that, still had the fresher tyre, but Fraga had no one ahead of him and no one to get in his way. So here comes Mazda as well. A couple of other cars making their way past the pit lane, and Porsche, who have yet to stop, but now inherit the lead.
So where do BMW come out in respect then? So let's see what happens as Honda waiting for them to come out of the pit lane, and BMW ahead 2.9 seconds, 3.1 seconds. It's going up and up as they come out and get themselves back into racing action. So that's worked out beautifully there for Nicolas Rubelard. Not lost too much time. Porsche inherit the lead, but of course the de facto leader, because Porsche haven't made their pit stop here, is now going to be BMW with a healthier advantage than they had prior to this pit stop.
Yeah, so it's not a big advance. Another 4 tenths, I think, what it was when they came in initially. So Mazda, though, this is Kokubun at the wheel of this thing. He's doing a good job on his own the majority of this race. I mean, you can't really miss the Mazda, can you? It's one of the loudest cars out there, one of the most spectacular cars out there at the moment, and really being wheeled by the Japanese driver, someone who's been with us really since the start of the World Tour event, so a very familiar name, and here for a reason. Such skill this man possesses. He's going to have to use all of it now to make the best of this race. Meanwhile, front of the field, BMW, Nico Rublard's got onto the back of the Porsche. That's Angel Enestrosa, who's going to be on much older medium tyres. There's not going to be much he can really do in terms of defending here. How long will Nico take? He needs one corner, T1, up the inside he goes, move made. There'll be no way the Porsche can defend from this, and Nico Rubelard goes back into the lead for BMW.
Mazda and Subaru into the pit lane, then onto the soft tyres for Mazda, to the medium tyres for Mazda, onto the soft tyres for Subaru there, and now Enestrosa is now in the slipstream, as we can see, of the BMW. Coming out of the pit lane here is Mazda, where they're going to emerge. Ryota Kokubun behind the wheel, of course, as we know. It's going to be tight between themselves and Mercedes-Benz as they come out, but Mercedes-Benz actually getting a good advantage, because of course the pit exit is actually so long here at Interlagos that there's nothing really that they can do. They filter back out. Are they ahead of the rest of the group, though? Mazda, that is the crucial question, and it looks as though they are. So they're pretty much the best of the rest as it stands, because of course they're running that different strategy, having started on the hard compound of tyre.
Here we are then, Mercedes-Benz, Baptiste Beauvoir at the wheel of that on that hard compound now. You don't like the hard compound if you're racing, it's a bit of your enemy. Steve, I've seen you appeared on my screen for a second down the bottom there, so I'm going to question you. I'm going to question our guys here. The hard tyre round here is just get on it, get off as soon as possible.
Yeah, judging by what pretty much everyone did on the first lap, they all came in after one lap. You clearly just do not want to be on that tyre. I was just looking at Porsche. They haven't pitted yet. Obviously, they had a really rubbish race one that was sent to the Shadow Realm. I think here they're just going to try something different. They haven't pitted yet, so I'm thinking they're probably going to try a 3-stop. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out for them.
2 seconds there, Steve, because it's getting pretty spicy here between Subaru and Lamborghini as we go side by side then, coming onto the start-finish straight. Subaru on the inside, Lamborghini towards the outside. I think one of them might be ready to dart into the pit lane here before too long. I thought they might be. Here comes Audi in the background. They're coming into the pit lane. Let's go back, though, to Subaru versus Lamborghini if we can, please, because it's still looking pretty exciting between them. Subaru now ahead of the Italian manufacturer. Mercedes, they're going to come out in all of this traffic, though, by the looks of things. This is horrible for Mercedes-Benz.
I mean, that's the risk they took there. We'll see when they come out the pit lane, though, because you get fired onto the track here from the pit lane at Interlagos, and looks like, yeah, they're going to be towards the back of the field, as you said there, Tom, so you were right there. That makes a rare occasion.
All right, thanks very much. Speak for yourself.
That's wrong to talk about. So, Subaru and Lambo then, that fight is going to continue. All running different strategies at the moment, so it's really hard to sort of guess how this is going to pan out as the race goes on. So, meanwhile, Citroën and Mazda, Kokubun's still out on that medium compound tyre. Citroën looking behind on the soft, so this is where really you have to focus if you're at a tyre disadvantage on losing as little time as possible if the guy behind you goes for a move, because that can make the difference in these races. 2 drivers fighting for honours, 2 Japanese drivers, I should say, fighting for honours. Here comes Honda, though, versus Porsche. Igor Fraga behind the wheel of the Honda. Behind the wheel of the Porsche, of course, as we know, is Angelo Stroza. Pulls to the inside as Igor Fraga. They run side by side, wing mirror to wing mirror, down towards the first corner. Later on the brakes for Honda on the soft compound tyre, a little bit deep into the centre S, but they've got enough time to gather it all up, hold on to position there. The soft compound of rubber really saving his backside. I'll tell you what, big gap down the front. That's 4 seconds. That's really gone up from what we saw on the first part of this race. So looks like Igor Fraga does not have an answer for Nico Rubelat and that BMW right now. And if things end this way, BMW would be our champions, of course, using those 3 points they got from Sydney all those months ago now. So looking to start as continue as they started back then. Here's Mazda and Citroën again. Citroën needs to get by Mazda, and they haven't yet. They're still stuck behind and probably getting bored of that rotary shrieking around in front of them.
Yeah, the Citroën GT machine, of course, first appeared back in GT5, has never appeared as this guy, as the Group 3 machine until GT Sport, but, well, it's a car that has been around for a fair amount of time and is very familiar within the GT community. You can see, meanwhile, in the background there, Igor Fraga with the Subaru WRX getting a little bit liberal with track limits, so it was just 2 wheels onto the grass there. I know it's pretty much famed for rallying, that Subaru, but maybe taking a few liberties.
I was giving you a stick there for never getting it right, and I don't know if Igor drives for Subaru, Tom.
I meant Mikhail Hazal. You know what I meant. They know what I meant. Don't worry about it.
I take great pleasure in this.
Oh,
as you can tell.
Is that another tick off the list,
yeah,
is
it? Back on the list it goes. So Porsche finally penning in. Angelo Stroza deciding those medium tyres will go no further. Comes onto the slight compounder tyre. Where will he come out, though? Because he's still got quite a bit of a gap to this group of cars behind. So this might actually be a decent shout here from Stroza if he comes out the pits ahead of his, because I think he will.
Oh, look at that!
Going for the lunge at the last second. Mick Hazal saying, well, if you're not going to overtake the Mazda, I'm going to overtake you. And through goes the 2019 Nations Cup champion, and now starts to line up the Mazda in front. That was a great move.
That was fantastic. You see the lateness of the lunge, the awareness that Mikhail Hazal had, and also the Citroën driver as well of Koke Mizuno. Fair play to him, because that couldn't have been easy to spot it, but sent it down the inside and through into 5th position there for Mikhail Hazal. His next target, of course, is going to be Ryota Kokubun, just in the front of your shot. The Porsche, meanwhile, is quite a way up the road, having just made that pit stop on the last lap. But now you can see on the defensive is going to be the Mazda, and you can see just how much more grip underneath him Mikhail Hazal's got with that softer compound of tyre. They're going to flick it left here, running very close to one another through this midsection of the lap, and surely he's just going to try and send it down the inside, maybe into this hairpin. Looks to have a little tries to have a little move, I'll get the words out. Eventually they run side by side once again. Mikhail Hazal, with much more grip, is able to run clean around the outside before the next corner.
I'd say that Kokubun worked with him a little bit there. I mean, that would have been quite easy to go 2 by 2 down the bottom, but he knows he would have lost that fight, so he thought, yeah, you know what, fine, take it. If you're that keen, get on with it. And Mick goes up into 4th place, looking back now from that Impreza. That's a gap already. And imagine you're in the Citroen right now, you're sitting there thinking, what's going on? Why can he get by and I'm still stuck here? That's Mizuno right now, of course, in the Citroen. He's seen his car go by and just leave in the distance. He's still there trying to get by Kokibun in the Mazda.
Just having a look at the difference in lap times between these drivers. They're all setting times within half a tenth of each other there and thereabouts. It's so close between the midfield at the moment. It's just phenomenal to see. Meanwhile, someone we've really not mentioned for a few more laps, of course, is Nicolas Rubbelard in the BMW. Now 4.4 seconds clear. If he needed a perfect race, if he needed to execute this race to perfection, he's done that completely right. And if it stays as it is, BMW will become the Manufacturer Series champions by a 9-point margin.
I don't think it's going to stay as it is, though. I mean, as you say, this first part of the race really strong by BMW, but there are other strategies at play here, so I'd be very surprised if this is how it ends, and that's how it would look if it did end on your screen in the live point rankings. We're on board with the Lamborghini at the moment, coming up through the middle sector. Scabili at the wheel of that at the moment as we come on the right hand, a very tight right hand here. Important to get the car to the right hand side of the circuit as quick as you can coming out of here to prepare for this long downhill left. You can just about get it flat if you get it right on the soft tyres, otherwise it's understeer city off into the green runoff there.
Porsche, meanwhile, on an absolute charge at the moment. They've just set the fastest first and second sector on this lap as they go around. They're now 5.9 seconds clear, really trying to put right the wrongs, Angel Inestrosa, just given how terrible this event has gone for them so far. Meanwhile, Citroen and Lamborghini into the pit lane then. They're making their third stop in this race, going soft to soft once again. As we know, of course, they have already run the hard compound of tyre. They get onto the soft once again here for these manufacturers. And let's see what is going to happen then in terms of their race and how their strategy is going to play out as Subaru come on to the Retro Apostol P4.
Steve, there are like 40,000 different strategies going on here, mate. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's really hard to keep track of at this moment, but one team that I'm looking at is Subaru, because I really think that they'll be in the mix for the front, for first place come the end of the race. And Mikael Hizar behind the wheel, I'm still not sure whether he's actually a human, because the way he drives is it's robotic, it's mega consistent, so definitely have a look out for Subaru by the end of the race.
Well, we've got a term in sim racing, that is alien. if you're that quick, and Nick doing the same thing there, and I think it's kind of hard. You'll get your spreadsheets out, haven't you, to map this race?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, plot some data. I love that shot there, the camera angle. You can see as the midfield comes through the middle sector, the advantage that Nicolas Rubbelard has now. It's come down a little bit over the last lap or so, only by a tenth or two. Let's have a look at a replay here. This is Subaru riding on board here. This is the absolute send from Mikael Hizar into that first corner. Look how late he is on the brakes, the confidence he's got underneath him, and also, crucially, the confidence he has in Koke Mizuno in that Citroen, down the inside, commitment to the full, and also another position gained.
I say confidence, it's just, well, if you defend, we're having a crash. I love that commitment in there. So Toyota in the pit lane, it's not been a race so far. They're one of the manufacturers that are sort of in contention. Well, they were in contention at the start of the race, but right now, miles off the ball. So we'll keep an eye on how the race develops, but I don't think it's going to be going their way. Here is Baptiste Beauvoir. On paper, that Mercedes have one of the strongest teams out there, but it seems to be struggling in this mid part of the race.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised about that, really. We've seen a lot of pace from Mercedes this year, struggling a little bit in the Manufacturer Series, but otherwise, I mean, it's just been really challenging to see them not doing so well. I mean, we all had a chat, all of us, Julia, myself, Steve and Jimmy, before we started this one, and said, who do we think is going to be doing the business? And on paper, looking at the lineup, you'd have to say Mercedes, arguably they've been the strongest, but not the case in action here.
I tell you what, though, just go back to what Steve said, what a story it would be if Subaru came away winners here and somehow managed to win the series overall, because as we said at the start, they've never qualified for the Manufacturer Series before, ever. So this is their first time here, and they're in contention for winning it. But of course, that's going to require some issues from BMW, because they're looking very strong right now. 16 points from the first two races, and right now looking at the full 24, which we're forward. Speaking of which, it's in the pit lane, onto the medium compound tyre. Honda doing the same thing, but going for the soft, so that's going to be surely a four-stop.
Trying to close that gap down, I would imagine, in any way that they can to BMW, by the looks of things. Here comes Porsche just coming through. the left-hander of turn number 3 on towards the straight then. Where are they going to emerge? BMW just coming out of the pit lane then. They're going to be behind BMW, but for how long? Because there's a fair amount of closing speed to consider here. Of course, Porsche on the soft compound of tyre here as well, whereas BMW are on the medium. So let's see whether that is going to be a change of position potentially on the cards towards the end of this lap.
This could be bad for BMW and Nico Rublar, because Angelina throws actually said not really much to lose, so he might just go, no, I'm going to send it on you, on my fresh compound tyre, slow you down, put you back into the clutches of Igor Fraga in that Honda on the very fast soft compound tyre, then have them squabble. These are the things you have to think of in these long races. It's basically everyone else on track, avoid them as best you can. Get into clear air and drive as quick as you can. And that Porsche is gaining, Tom.
And just to remind you as well, of course, it is double points here in this grand final as well. So every position counts that little bit more. Steve, what do you reckon here very quickly as we get ready to come to the final part of this lap?
Well, I'm trying to do about 1 million calculations at the minute, trying to work out how this one's going to go. I think BMW I think what they're trying to do is really just get that medium tyre out of the way quickly, and then they can perhaps finish the race on the soft. But again, I'm just trying to work this one out at the moment.
Right now, it seems like BMW's taken soft a couple of times now, so it's not going to take any more tyres at the moment. It has got to take the hard, and that's it now. Whereas Honda behind have to take every other compound tyre. They've been just on the softs so far. Here is Porsche and Angelina throws it. Do you reckon he'll go for one?
He's got to do it, surely. Like you said, he's got nothing to lose. I mean, Porsche have had an absolute dog of a day so far, so they need to really try and turn things around.
It's the Minardi strat, isn't it? It's like, if you can't win, get on TV.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. That's why they love single lap qualifying so much. Goodness me, yeah, Angelo Destroza, it's lovely to see him back out on track, and nice to see Porsche fighting at the sharper end of the field. I'm really looking forward to what 2021 brings for the FIA GT Championships. It's great to see the commitment. These guys, of course, have not only been practicing over the course of the last couple of weeks for these manufacturer series events, but they've been racing all year long in the online season. So though you may not have seen it because it's not been a part of our world tour, doesn't mean these guys haven't been racing, and it really is going to count for so much more.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Gran Turismo racing this year, Tom. I think you have as well. So when you see the progression, some drivers really fill the role as they go on. And this is a man, as we sort of said before, Angelo Destroza, who's just got better and better and better as time has gone on in that Porsche. And he's stuck with Porsche too. This might be time for a little bit of reward for him if he can get by BMW. Meanwhile, Ford and Citroën close together on circuit as well. Citroën and has made 3 stops. Ford only made 2 stops as well. So you can see in that column there, just right of the tyre, the amount of stops every team has made so far. And Citroën definitely deep in the slipstream, cuts back to the inside, should have the overspeed now coming down towards T1. We know that Ford is quick in a straight line. It's starting to pull back on the Citroën. It won't quite have the legs to do so though. Up into 7th place goes Citroën.
Nicely done there for Koke Mizuno ahead of Adam Tapai, then into P7. Down through the centre rest they go. Just in the background of the shot, you can see the Lamborghini. Thomas Scabilia behind the wheel of that one. Hasn't really featured too much in this race, and likewise Lamborghini haven't really featured that heavily over the course of the manufacturer series here today, and I don't think that's do them a disservice at all, because it takes tremendous effort for all of these manufacturers to qualify for the 12 places that we have available, but they would have been hoping for a far more elevated evening in terms of their standings.
Yeah, it's super competitive to qualify for these, and to give you an example of that, no Lexus. They were our 2018 champs.
Exactly. Spot on. So there is Mazda now. They have got Mercedes-Benz for company. Mercedes, of course, on the soft compound of tyre. Mazda on the mediums. Different strategy for them at this stage in the race. And one would begin to imagine that it's only a matter of time before the Mercedes-Benz of Baptiste Beauvoir is going to be able to find his way past. Look at the Lamborghini now, all over the back of the Ford as well. Adam Tapai really beginning to struggle. Of course, Lamborghini on fresher soft compound rubber there in the background. But look at the closing speed there of Baptiste Beauvoir, and look in the background as well at Koke Mizuno, ready to try and take advantage. Wide coming through there as well. Got a bit slippery onto the power there as he tried to put it down, but just had no grip underneath him. And now it is going to be surely a fairly easy pass there, as I say that, because he comes into the pit lane. Meanwhile, here is Mercedes-Benz versus Citroën, nearly coming side by side down the straight. Pulls to the inside there, does Beauvoir. Koke Mizuno trying to go the long way around the outside and trying to harry him for position, as Mazda coming through the pits there as well. Through the left-hander we go of the of the left-hander, rather, out of turn 3, onto the Retroposta. Here comes Citroën once again, and we go side by side once more. Mercedes-Benz now on the outside, Citroën on the inside. Mizuno ahead into the braking zone, and just about manages to get himself into P4.
I've just been watching the pit stops where you were talking about that, Tom, and just seeing which tyre compound everybody is going on to. And as Steve said, I've been keeping an eye on Subaru to see what Mick is doing. And he's now gone on to another set of the soft tyres. That'll be him to the end now, I think. I don't see him stopping again with 10 laps to go on that soft compounder tyre. It would be a bit of a stretch, but he'll make it last, I think. But he has come out in traffic, and that's something that he's been avoiding most of the race, but now he is stuck behind the Ford Lamborghini and actually behind this fight with the Citroën as well. So unless these guys stop soon, Mick might find that he's made a bit of a misstep here.
We're expecting Porsche and Angel Estrada to challenge against BMW. 0.7 of a second that gap sits. It's just going up incrementally as it stands at the moment between the top two. So although Estrada should in theory be a little bit quicker, he's not had an opportunity to really attack Nicolas Roublar. Meanwhile, here is Subaru versus Ford as we come up the brow of the hill. Then Subaru on the inside, Ford on the outside as we go through. And we can see that Subaru are now ahead into 7th position as into the pit lane come Mercedes-Benz, and Ford also coming in there as well.
Bit of a godsend that one for Subaru, because now Mick doesn't have to get by on circuit, just do it in the pit stop. So both wide into the pit lane. Don't think this is going to be Mercedes' day today, Tom. They just haven't quite performed in this last race. I don't think maybe the track suits the car as well as the others did. And now here is the one to watch. Mick is out in the Subaru. Now I think that the best he can do right now, if Nico Roublar is performing the way he is take that car, even if he wins this race. That wouldn't be enough for Subaru to win overall.
Yeah, needs to really try and pull the cat out of the bag, as it were. Here we are as we ride on board then with Toyota. And behind the wheel of that car, of course, as we know, is Tomoki Yamanaka.
Oh, I lied, sorry, I was just doing some maths there. My maths is terrible, I didn't want to tell you. If Mick can win this race, they will win the overall series. So there you go.
Double points.
Yeah, completely different. Man does maths live and doesn't do a good job. Well,
goodness me. Here then is Igor Fraga onto the back of Angel Estrada in the Porsche, then into the slipstream he is once again. You can see that closing speed, and we know that that Honda is pretty handy in a straight line. Is Igor Fraga going to be able to find his way through? Well, he pulls to the inside as they come over the timing line, down towards the first corner, late on the brakes, nice and confident, nice and smooth, and through into 2nd position. Lovely stuff from the 2018 champion.
Sorry, I was kind of think like, come on, Angel, do something. Like, defend. make it hard for him, you know. He's being too clever, which is annoying for us in the commentary booth. But I wanted to see the pack sort of squeeze up again.
But last time he was 7/10 slower than Igor Fraga last time around. So whether he had a moment, whether he made a mistake, I'm not quite sure. But either way, just got no pace at the moment.
I think he's a fresh set of softs, so I think that's just a difference in speed at the moment. Mazda, middle of the field right now, defending from VW. There's a Nick Romero in the VW. See him a lot in the online series, did very well there. Not quite translating that to the Manufacturer Series final right now in that VW. Volkswagen not really been anywhere, have they, in this series so far? I mean, they come into this with only 4 points, so it wasn't really going to be a fight for the win for them, but still good to see him out there.
Yeah, just looking at Nico Romero's driver cam there, he's got a face like a bulldog chewing a wasp at the moment. He's really not happy with where the position is out on track for VW, and as you said, Jimmy, they haven't really featured too much over the course of this evening. So back to the drawing board, try and recalculate, reevaluate, and hopefully they can turn some things around for 2021.
So just looking at the gaps, trying to predict what's going to happen in the next few laps. Steve, do we have you, mate?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Subaru right now. What do you reckon the chances are with the gaps as they are?
I think they've got a really good shout still, because on the last lap, Mick was a second quicker than anyone else. So he is gaining. There's still 8 laps to go. And of course, the main thing I was thinking about is in the last couple of laps, for the last fuel stop, you know, everyone's going to see how well they've done in terms of fuel saving so far. So I think pretty much everyone has to come back in and get refueled. So that's gonna change things.
I'm not sure if I caught the fuel for the Subaru when it came in last time. I'm not sure if there was a long stop or not. That might be why he ended up back in the pack. We didn't catch that. So I believe 10 laps on a soft tyre is easily doable. In fact, people have done that in the race so far, and that's how many laps we would see on this tyre towards the end. Maybe even 11 laps, possibly.
essentially what it boils down to is, let's simplify it a little bit, whoever finishes on the road ahead and whoever wins the race is probably going to win the Manufacturer Series if it stays as it is, given the manufacturers that are fighting at the sharper end of the field. So if it stays with BMW at the top, they're probably going to win. If Honda are able to get ahead, they're going to win.
I'm just trying to think who's going to beat them.
Yeah, exactly.
my poor brain it's been a long couple of days here, but an awesome couple of days as we see Igor get closer and closer to Nico in front. Now what we need for our race, and what I mean is the big crescendo at the end, is to have a little bit of a fight now, to squabble a bit for the place and slow each other down just a wee bit, but they're both very clever. And I imagine we'll probably see a pass facilitated both probably by Nico Rubler in the BMW when Igor gets there. But bear in mind, these two have to stop at least one more time.
No, in fact, well, twice for Honda because they have only run the softs.
Yeah, I was going to say twice for Honda as well. So that's going to put them both back quite far up the field. And I reckon for Honda, probably going to put them way out the podium.
Here's Mazda versus Volkswagen then as we see a replay. So this is side by side coming down the start-finish straight. The favourite move of all of our drivers coming down towards the first corner. And the rotary Mazda is ahead through into 7th position ahead of the Volkswagen Beetle.
We are then on board with the Mazda. Yeah, just done a good job today, hasn't he? He's done right, I think, firmly best of the rest in that Mazda.
Oh, easily, yeah, easily the most impressive driver of that Mazda, and nothing to take away from Fabien Portier or Jay Wong, but he has been the standout in that lineup over the course of this evening, and looking forward to see what he's going to be able to do over the course of next year as well. Look at this gaggle of cars. Meanwhile, here is Lamborghini, Thomas Scabilia behind the wheel, Mercedes-Benz in front with his fellow countryman, Baptiste Beauvoir, who is behind the wheel. And well, this is going to be an interesting fight between the two of them. They're both on pretty much identical strategies, both on soft tyres. Both have made 4 stops and are running to the end then of this race. So let's see what is going to happen between these drivers as we come towards the crescendo of the Manufacturer Series. Is Scabilia going to be able to find his way past? Meanwhile, Honda into the pit lane then from the soft to the medium compound of tyres. Now, when are they going to take fuel? Is it going to be now, or are they going to do it a little bit later? They've got 16 laps left, so they're going to have to take some on board to make it to the end. They do take just a few drops, and likewise Porsche doing the same from the soft to the hard compound and taking fuel.
I wish I could see how much fuel that Subaru had, because look where they are now. We can see on our mini-map there on the right where the people come out of the pit lane is. That Subaru is going to jump everyone. I think it might come out side by side with Honda. What's there? There it is. So our 2 Nations Cup champions now together on circuit. Igor Fraga goes defensive. Mick goes up the inside, says, thank you very much, son. I'm going to take that place away from you, up into 2nd place. And I don't think Igor's going to have a response because he's on the medium compound of tyres. Say that, he's going to give it a go. They're going to be side by side coming up to T6, a fast right-hander. Mick has the inside line. Igor's going to try the long way around. Will he make it? No chance on that tyre. And Mick keeps 2nd place.
Fantastic driving there from Mikael Hazal. Great awareness from Igor Fraga as well, and fantastic respect between the 2 Nations Cup champions that we've had in the FIA GT Championships. And now it is advantage to Subaru, but the crucial question is, do they have to take a bit of fuel on board here as well? If they do, I don't know if it's going to be enough for them, because of course we know that Honda do owe another set of tyres, but it's going to be very, very close. If the gap stays as close as it is, if they're able to extend it out, as you would expect Mikael Hazal to be able to do, then should be okay. Meanwhile, BMW into the pit lane. 11 litres of fuel left. They'll have to take a bit more on to make it to the end of this one.
They will. This is super tight now, super tense. What's the fuel like? How much fuel has Mick got in that Subaru? Would he be able to make it to the end? He goes across the line, goes up into the lead for now, but Fraga's come back at him on the straight there, using the toe, and it looks like they're working together a little bit now. You never thought you'd hear that, would you? The 2018-2019 Nations Cup champions working together right now to try and challenge the BMW. Where is Nico Rubler? There he is, coming out of the pit lane behind the Subaru WRX and behind the Honda, so he's lost out there. And now I think we've got a straight flight on track between Subaru and BMW, because bear in mind, Honda, they still owe a pit stop.
I tell you what, the face that Nicolas Rubler just pulled on the driver cam, he should start going to award ceremonies if he's going to lose like that, because he was so gracious, he was smiling all the way. It was like, oh yeah, well, there's nothing I can do about this.
Well, Nico's usually a fairly positive sort of guy, but if it were me, there wouldn't have been smiles, I can tell you that now. But here comes the fight. The thing is, it's sort of a foregone conclusion at this point, because I say Honda, they owe another stop. They have to come into the pit lane at the end of the race. Now, will Igor try and back Mick into Nico, you think? Maybe try and slow him down a bit. There's not much he can really do here.
He's kind of a bit defenceless, as you say. I mean, you know, it would be a great result for Honda if it finished as it is, but of course, like you say, they owe that other set of tyres, and that's going to put them back into, at best, what's that, about third place if they've taken a bit of fuel on board here. Steve, where do you think they'd emerge when Honda come into the pit lane if the gap stays as they are?
I'm looking at it now. You're looking at about a 10-second loss, so it could be 6th or 7th. It's not looking good for them at the moment, I don't think.
Cheers there, Steve. Well, that is bad news indeed there, and you can see 4.5 seconds back of that trio of drivers sits Porsche, and only 8 tenths of a second back. Yeah, it's going to be right in this gaggle of cars that are all fighting for position, so this could be pretty disastrous, actually, as it turns out for Honda, from going from fighting for the race lead, and their strategy just has not worked out at all here.
No, and I'm interested, again, I just wish I knew how much fuel that Subaru had, because that's going to be the deciding factor here, whether BMW come away as champions or whether Subaru come away as champions. Right now, Subaru will lead the points if the race ended as is, but there are still fights going on. This is one of them, Lamborghini versus Mercedes, and Citroën there in the background as well. That Lamborghini on a fresh set of soft tyres with Baptiste Beauvoir in the Mercedes-Benz, trying to find a way around that bright green V10 Lamborghini coming from the mid-sector now. You can see there's been a little bit of, maybe not been a very friendly fight, Tom.
A bit of argy-bargy, perhaps, between them. Let's see what the stewards make of that collision between them, being investigated by them at this very moment. So now 2.5 laps remain here at Interlagos, looking at Igor Fraga, who is ready to inherit the race lead once... I should say, Mikael Hazal in second position, ready to inherit the lead from Igor Fraga once the Brazilian comes in to make his final stop from that Honda NSX. A warning is given then to Mercedes-Benz owing to that contact with the Lamborghini, so the two Frenchmen having a bit of a tete-a-tete, as it were, out there on track. And we look then, as we come down towards that first corner, BMW there in the background. Well, it'll be a good second place there for BMW, but it won't be quite the race victory that Nicolas Roubillard would have been dreaming of at the start of this.
No, and of course they are both pulling away now from the BMW. Look at Porsche. Porsche's still there. They're still up there. They're on the hard tyres, so they're going to be probably, Angel's probably going to be in his rear-view mirror for the last part of the race, but he's still managed to put that car in a decent position with a different strategy from everybody else. So that's really impressive by him, but he's still got 2 laps to fend off the train of soft runners behind him. Now here's a view back from the Honda of Igor Fraga. And I know I keep going on about it, but it's just so good to see these two back on track again fighting. It's been a while.
Yeah, we love a nice ding-dong battle between these two guys, and that's exactly what we're treated to here in this Manufacturers Series final then. Let's see what is going to happen between them.
Thomas Kabilia had found his way down to 11th very quickly, and he's looking very annoyed on the driver cam. So I'd say maybe a bit more contact between the two cars.
Yeah.
Didn't miss it though.
Steve, did you manage to catch what happened there?
I did. So there was an initial contact through turn 1 about 2 laps ago. Then they did the same again a lap later. And then going down to the Rita Imposta, the Mercedes just sort of elbowed his way in and just shoved him off into the shadow realm. So probably expect a penalty for Mercedes, I would have thought.
Oh dear. Well, less a tete-a-tete and more a bigger argument in French that I can't remember what it's called. I need to work on that.
Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, top commentary, really.
French with Tom Brooks. There you go. I mean, this is great to see, and I'm thinking at this point, given that Mick is still out there in that Subaru, that he's got the fuel, and he's going to be just sitting there behind you. Why do you think he's not passed, or why do you think he's not trying to get past? He's sitting there going, I'll just have a bit more. I'll just make sure I get to the end.
Yeah, there's no need for him to get past. Honda are going to be pitting at the end of this lap, going on to the hard competitive tyre, unless Igor's made a bit of a boo-boo. Like, it's not the first time he'd have done that, to be fair.
It doesn't even matter if he doesn't pit, because if Subaru comes second here, they will win. And I can't tell you what a massive story that would be. We've said it a couple of times before. They've come into the series and they've never qualified before. Ever, ever, ever. And Takuma Miyazono, Danny Solis, Mick Hazal, they all got together online and said, come on, this is the year. Let's get Subaru into the Manufacturers Series. And they've done just that and won more. They are just a lap and a half away from victory in the Manufacturers Series if Mick can just eke out that fuel and get to the finish line.
Well, this is going to be very exciting. What a great crescendo it's turning out to be. So, Igor Fraga and Honda ready to come into the pit lane then at the end of this lap here. Meanwhile, in the background, I'm just keeping a closer eye on Angel Nostroza, and the gap actually was 0.8 of a second. It's now gone up to just over 1 second between 4th and 5th position. So though he's on the slowest, the hard competitive tyre, Frogger into the pit lane, by the way. Meanwhile, a penalty there being given to Mercedes-Benz for colliding with another car. Sounds like a bit of a slam dunk from what we heard from Steve. Just coming back to that thought in just a few moments' time, because here we go then. As you can see, that penalty ready to be served, but not quite yet. Side by side we go. Meanwhile, here comes Citroen on the inside, Mazda as well. This is getting pretty hairy down in towards the centre S. Mazda on the outside of Mercedes, and here comes the Citroen of Koke Mizuno, who runs side by side with Ryota Kokubun as well through the left-hander. Somehow the Mercedes is able to end up on top, but they're about to serve that penalty, and that's going to allow the Mazda and the Citroen to go sliding on through.
Yeah, penalty line quite late here at Interlagos, so we'll be able to get back into the fight quite quickly, but Mazda and Citroen will be going down to the wire now. Kokubun trying to defend the best he can. He's on older tyres than the Citroen behind, so it's going to be a hell of a job for him to do that. It won't really affect the standings that much towards the end, but it's for pride now between the two drivers. Coming round T6, and it looks like Kokubun just managing to fend in the best way possible, keeping it in contact between the two. You're right there, Tom, and then the Mazda push wide. That'll be looked into, no doubt.
Yeah, certainly. That was maybe unfortunate, maybe it was a racing incident, maybe one of them braked a little bit earlier, but we need to cross back to the race leader, and we need to cross back to Miss Mikael Hazal in just a few moments' time, because he, in the Subaru WRX, is just a few corners from home. What a season it has been for Subaru. Danny Solis, Mikael Hazal, and of course, Takuma Miyazono rounding the final corner and over the line to become the Manufacturers Series World Champions of 2020. Subaru take the honours here at Interlagos. BMW come home second, and Mikael Hazal, the driver that got them to the checkered flag, is absolutely delighted.
Wow,
what
57.4.
an absolutely fantastic way to end the Manufacturers Series, and the reign lives on. Japanese manufacturers winning it 3 years in a row.
That was just a victory lap for Mick at the end. He pulled an absolute blinder. As Steve said, you have to wonder, is this guy human? He comes in here after being away, not being at his best, and turning up for the final and just smashes the competition. That's the Mick Hazal way.
What a great end to the season then in the Manufacturer Series. Subaru taking top honours ahead of BMW and Mercedes-Benz in the final points rankings. Porsche finishing third in that race to get a podium. Great last lap there from Angel Nostroza to stay safe on that hard compound of tyre. Anyway, what a great race. Let's head back over to Super GT.
Oh my goodness, what a race that was. Brilliant performance from Mikael Hazal, as ever. In the Subaru, dragging it through to an amazing victory, which is really good because I told him everything he knows about Gran Turismo Sport, of course. But in all seriousness, a brilliant performance from him. And a big shout out to Porsche, who were the only team to make the two-stop work. And they come away in third in that race. Just want to mention that Citroen did get a 1 second penalty. That demoted them from 5th to 7th in that race. But it was a brilliant race. What do you make of it, Tom?
Yeah, to be honest with you, Steve, I'm just about recovered from that one. It was unbelievable, wasn't it? I mean, there was so much tension in the final stages of that. I mean, everybody drove supremely well. You don't get the manufacturers to qualify for the top 12 spaces we have without driving very well. And they show why they have that level of performance here tonight.
No, it's just mad. And again, I want to reiterate just how impressive it was from Porsche to get third. Angel Nostroza cementing himself on the scene as one of the drivers to definitely watch in the future. But Mick Hazal, ladies and gentlemen, doing what Mick Hazal does best.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see where the future lies for Mikael Hazal. Is he going to stay with his allegiances with Subaru? I wonder if another manufacturer or another driver is going to come along and try and snap him up. Let's see what's happened in that final race, though. Some highlights from it. So BMW qualified on pole position. They led the way down towards the first corner, but in the early stages of the race, Mercedes versus BMW went toe-to-toe as the different strategies began to play out. You see this late lunge from Mikael Hazal? Look at that. Did you see that? Because I don't think Koke Mizuno and the Citroen did.
No, I don't think he expected that at all, but that's exactly what you can expect from the 2019 Nations Cup champ, rounding outside of the Mazda on his way to chase down these guys. This is Igor Fraga overtaking Angel Nostroza in the Porsche. That Honda, though, too bad on its tyres, unfortunately, didn't quite get things working, and it ended up with this. Both our champs coming together. Fraga having to give the position to Mick Hazal, but came back at him as the race went on. And we had this great moment where BMW Nico Rublar, who drove a faultless race up until then, just didn't quite have the speed to come out ahead of Mick Hazal.
Mikael Zaldo coming over the line to take the win in the race and cementing Subaru's place at the top of the Manufacturers Series standings. Porsche coming home third on the road after a meteoric drive from Angel Enestrosa. But look at the delight on this man's face. Mikael Zaldo, the Turkish driver, on top again in the 2020 FIA GT Championships.
Guys, we're champions.
Yeah. Can't believe it, man.
I have to say thank you for being my teammates. Like as I said, without you it wasn't possible. It wasn't possible without you guys. And I wanted to say thank you very much for driving for Subaru. Proud of Boxer, yo!
I just can't believe I won something. That's incredible. Oh my gosh.
Final results, as you can see on your screen: Mikael Hazal, Nicolas Rubelar and Angel Enestrosa finished first, second and third for Subaru, BMW and Porsche. Igor Fraga there in fourth place ahead of Mercedes, Mazda, Citroen, Ford, Volkswagen, Toyota, Audi and Lamborghini. Those are the grand final race results.
Tell you what, Mercedes-Benz just about did enough to stay on the podium there. Third place for them, but there it is. Our point standings. Team Subaru are the manufacturers' champions from BMW. 5 points in the end separate first and second. Honda there, fourth place of that awesome last race. And again, Team Porsche putting themselves all the way up to fifth on 21 points of that third in our final.
Yeah, that really counted for a lot, considering they had no points at the end of that first race there. That disaster of a race one from Matt Simmons. I mean, they really turned things around right at the end.
The Matt Simmons handbrake turn. Don't try it at home.
No.
Don't work well.
Not recommended. Not recommended. Anyway, enough talking about the drivers. I think we should probably talk to the drivers. Julia Hardy is with the winning Subaru team.
Wow, that was some incredible racing there. There were literally shouts all through the studio as that was getting to the climactic end moment. What a fantastic way to end the Manufacturer Series race. And joining me now, we thought, you know, after all of this conjecture and us kind of figuring out what we think was really going on during that race, let's find it all out from the horse's mouth as we have the winners of the Manufacturer Series. It's the guys from Team Subaru. Guys, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
Going really good right now.
Good. Okay. All right. I'm going to start off with Danny with a question for you. So you have now managed to conjure Subaru and shove it into the Manufacturer Series and come back with a win. How happy are you with that right now?
I mean, I was in tears when the race was finished, but I mean, I couldn't be any happier. I mean, going into this, like, I knew that I had one of the weakest cars for the first race, so I was stressing like the whole time, like, you know, just telling myself I'm probably only going to be able to get 10th at best if I do my very best, and I just have to hope for everything else to go well. But it looks like, even though some things didn't go so well for other people, it seemed like I did some stuff well myself. So I'm just really happy that I was able to keep up a good performance for once.
Yeah, well, it obviously went well, you know. It's all good result in the end. So, Takuma, as obviously the master strategist, and I assume the master strategist behind Subaru's win, how did you do it? How did you beat the other teams?
ですね、戦略マスターって言われてますけど、本当今回に関してはもう自分の力というよりも本当にダニエルとミックの2人がいろいろ作戦を考えてくれたり、もう自分の力だけじゃ本当にないので、本当みんなで掴んだ勝利かなっていうふうに思います。
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you've all done really well. And Mick, I have to say, we all in the studio here, and I'm sure everyone at home, was a little bit excited about the fact that you were going up against Igor. We were just, all of us, it was like all of our Gran Turismo dreams being realised. Was it as intense for you? Because for us, we were just like on the edge of our seats.
Not really, if I'm honest, because no. Don't get me wrong, because I was only just following my strategy, and my teammates like Daniel and Miyasuno-san, they were telling me that Igor still needed to pit, and he was having brand new set of medium tires, whereas I was having like some more used soft tires. So I didn't want to lose that much time anyway, because Nicolas needed to pit anyway. So I was just following him until he pitted and just finishing my race.
Yeah, well, you kept that concentration going and didn't make any mistakes. So, I mean, well done for you. I mean, we were just fanboying a little bit over just the two of you having a bit of time on track together. I think we needed to end our 2020 like that, just to feel something special. Well, look, congratulations, guys. You had an amazing race. And how are you going to celebrate this evening or this morning or whatever time it is for you, wherever you are?
For me, it's probably by eating something or maybe just studying, because I still need to finish with my studies for this weekend.
The dedication.
Yeah, it's just I need to keep going. So because I think if you lose it for a little bit, then you will also like get out of the rhythm, like the zone. It's just keep doing something. But for now, I think I will just relax myself for a bit, and then let's see what I will be doing next.
Takuma, how are you going to celebrate?
はい、結構もう夜中なのであんまり騒げないんで、ちょっととりあえず今晩は静かにいようかなっていうふうに思ってます。
Okay, but save it for tomorrow. And Daniel, how about you? What are you going to do to celebrate?
Honestly, I think I might just sit down, take a breather, relax, because it's
quite
still a lot to
stressful.
process.
Yeah.
Like thinking that we had an outside chance, but then actually getting it done is incredible to me. So I think I need to like process everything that's happened. Like we're world champions. I can't even believe it. But I might just have a nice dinner, just celebrate with something simple and, give myself a little something back for how I performed today.
Absolutely, you guys have practiced so hard to be in with a chance to win this, and now you have. You should definitely reward yourself. Mick, obviously, it's going to be a bunch of giant cookies, I presume, but we'll see what we can send. All right, guys, well, look, massive congratulations from everyone here. You are the Manufacturer Series champions. Let's chuck it back to Tom and Jimmy.
Well, thanks, Julia. Lovely to hear there from our Subaru team. All three drivers there, understandably resplendent with joy.
I'll tell you what, another reason for Mick Hazal to be happy, because I just heard in my ear a minute ago that he's been named our Michelin Driver of the Day. So another cap to add to his collection.
Lovely. I mean, doesn't get much better than that, does it, for Mick? A nice cap, and, he can just chill now. Afterwards, he can just go to bed. Why not? Well, it's what he does. He just falls asleep afterwards, doesn't he?
He said that before, yeah, like, what did you do after your race? Go to sleep.
Lovely.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So why would you not want to celebrate? No big GT parties here. Straight to bed.
Oh,
yeah, I know. Well, anyway, can't have it all. You can't have it all. Don't forget, of course, that we've got more racing action for the 2020 FIA GT Championships World Finals coming up for you very soon. Keep an eye out for the Nations Cup. That'll be along the way for you very shortly indeed. And we have got plenty more things to talk about, including our award ceremony. So probably about time we get that one underway. A phenomenal 2020 season we've had with the FIA Gran Turismo Championships, culminating in a brand new winner in the Manufacturers Series. We've got the award ceremony to take place in just a few moments' time, but beforehand we are going to head over to our Japanese studio for a few words with the producer of Gran Turismo, Kazunori Yamauchi.
まずはチームスバル、それから BMW、そしてチームメルセデスの皆さん、本日は本当におめでとうございます。このマニファクチャラーシリーズというのは、もちろんそこに登場しているマニファクチャラーの車たちも魅力なんですけれども、毎回僕が見ていて思うのは、やっぱりそれに乗るドライバーの皆さんの素晴らしさなんですね。それを今日改めて感じました。本当におめでとうございます。
And now we present the awards to the top three finishers in the Manufacturer Series overall results from 2020. In third place, the team comprised of Lucas Benelli, Cody Nicola-Lakowski and Baptiste Beauvoir. Please give it up for Team Mercedes-Benz. In second position, the team comprised of Koke Lopez, Randall Hayward and Nicholas Rubelar. It is Team BMW. And now the award presented to the 2020 FIA GT Championships Manufacturers Series champions, a team comprised of Danny Solis, Takuma Miyazono and Mikael Hizal. It is Team Subaru! Now it is time for the national anthem of the winning manufacturer. The national anthem, please, of Japan. And we also have a fantastic gift from our partner Sony, a professional grade 61 megapixel Sony Alpha 7/4R camera, which includes a full image sensor, a super bright 24mm f1.4 lens set. It's the same camera system that is used in the production of the Scapes photo mode in Gran Turismo Sport, and it's presented to our winning drivers of Team Subaru. And before we conclude the awards ceremony here today for the Manufacturer Series, we're going to first head back over to our Japanese studio for a final word with producer Kazunori Yamauchi.
はい、今日のレース、3つのレースありましたけれども、コースと車の組み合わせを考えるとね、必ずしもスバルの車が一番速かったわけではおそらくないと思うんですね。でもそんな中で、ダニエルと宮園君と、ミカエルの3人が、本当にその才能と能力を生かしきって、なんかこう奇跡のように掴んだ勝利だと思います。1年前にミカエル・ヒザルが、ネーションズカップのチャンピオンになった時に、来年はマニファクチャーシリーズのチャンピオンになるって言ったんですね。実際彼は今年、マニファクチャーシリーズにしか参戦していなかった。で、チャンピオンを取る、このトロフィーを取るって言って実際にそれを取るってやっぱすごいことですよね。だから今日の本当にスバルチームの皆さんのね力というものは感激をしました。皆さんおめでとうございます。
To Yamauchi-san, to the entire team at Polyphony Digital, and to our competitors as well. A fantastic conclusion to the 2020 FIA GT Championships for the Manufacturer Series, with Team Subaru claiming their inaugural crown here today. So Team Subaru are crowned the inaugural champions of 2020. A fantastic season end. And of course we'll go all again back in 2021 as well. Thank you to Julia Hardy, to Steve Brown and to Jimmy Broadbent. From myself, Tom Brooks, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And we'll see you again very soon for more racing action with the FIA Gran Turismo Championships.
and welcome to the Extra Lap. My name's Julia Hardy, and obviously if you have been enjoying today's racing, you'll know that there was actually far too much of it to cram into one show, which is why we created the Extra Lap, just so we can really start to pick apart everything that's just happened. So if you obviously watched the Manufacturer Series today, you know that there were some fierce battles out there on the track. And whilst we got the opportunity to speak to our new champions, yes, that's Team Subaru, at the end of the race, we didn't get a chance to talk to anyone who got into P3 and P2 either. So we thought we'd take this opportunity that Tom and Jimmy could actually have a chat and find out exactly what went down on the track today. Let's chuck it over to you guys.
Yeah, cheers, Julia. Thank you very much indeed. I mean, I've just about got my breath back from that. It was like a phenomenal evening of racing, wasn't it?
Well, so I'm glad Julia had the time with the guys afterwards, because I was sort of just having a massive drink after that. With the throat closed up. But yeah, awesome stuff. And again, I think definitely a worthy winner.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, if we look to Team Subaru, of course, you know, taking the inaugural crown, doesn't get much better than that for them on this occasion. But, you know, we've got some other drivers we need to talk to, find out kind of where things went wrong for some of them over the course of that one. Let's have a look, though, at Team Subaru and just remind you of the points rankings, though, as it stands. You can see Team Subaru at the top of the pile, 41 points ahead of BMW there in second place, who are on 36, and then Team Mercedes in third position on 31. Very hotly contested between those three.
Yes, it was at the point where we had no idea what to expect coming into the last round, with four teams really being in with a realistic chance. But of course, Subaru there at the end taking the spoils. And also, I like to say again, we say Team Porsche. They were so impressive in the last race. I think then Strozer managed to bring them all the way up to fifth. So it was full of action all the way through.
They had a shocker really at the start of it as well, so to turn it around as Strozer did was really, really impressive. Anyway, we should probably start talking to some of our drivers, shall we? So let's go over to Team Mercedes-Benz and talk to Baptiste Beauvoir. Baptiste was in the hot seat for the final race of the day at Interlagos. So let's find out exactly what his thoughts are on that. Baptiste, I believe you're joining us there now. How are you feeling after that, finishing third for Mercedes-Benz?
Yeah, I feel good. It's my first podium in the World Final, so I have to stay on this feeling and try to stay positive, you know. Yeah, I feel good. Maybe we lost the second position today on the podium, but I think Subaru deserved the title very well because they was too fast today. Michael did a brilliant job on the last race, so congratulations, Michael. So yeah, congratulations to all the team Subaru and congratulations to all the team BMW. They was faster than us this time.
Well, it started off very strong for you, Baptiste. Hello, by the way, it's Jimmy. Good to talk to you again, mate. It seemed though Mercedes, they struggled a bit at Interlagos. The car didn't seem to suit the track properly.
Yeah, this car is not too bad for Interlagos, but yeah, I think my pace wasn't the best this time. Something happened between me and Lamborghini at the end of the race, so I got a 3-second penalty, which caused me to lose 3 places, and yeah, that we lost the second position overall at the end of just for that, but it's fine. We will try a better result next time.
Nice stuff. Well, Baptiste, thank you very much. Lovely to chat to you there, get your thoughts on that one, and congratulations to yourself and indeed the whole of Team Mercedes-Benz for finishing in third position. Let's go over to second place now, Nicholas Rubelar for Team BMW. So close, Nicholas, but yet so far. I mean, how are you feeling after the day's action for yourself and the BMW team?
Well, it's kind of like... I just wanted to get the first place because we had a strong strategy, but yeah, I can't complain with the second place. I'm really happy that we could bring our favorite manufacturers up on this place of the podium. Yeah, Subaru had a better strategy than us, and it was showed on the race results, but still, we are pretty happy with our performance with Kogan race, with Randall race, and with my race as well. So yeah, overall, we are really happy with this result.
So Nico, of course, we were watching the driver cams during the race, and your face when you came out behind Subaru and Honda sort of said it all, really. Is that when you knew the win was gone?
Yeah, it was exactly like that because I couldn't keep the pace of the sub tires in the hards. So also it was on the slipstream of the Honda. So still it was like, no, I can't catch him, and stick to the second place.
Well, nice one, Nicholas. Good to chat to you, mate. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to catch up with us. Congratulations to yourself, to Randall and to Koke as well. All of the BMW team did a great job. But now let's go over to the 2020 Manufacturer Series champions as well. Team Subaru, of course. Mikael Hazal is with us. Mick, I mean, how are you feeling after that, mate? Phenomenal drive at the end of it, but a great job from your teammates all day long as well.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to give my thanks to my teammates Daniel Solis and Takuma Miyasono, because without them it wouldn't have been possible to basically win the Manufacturers Cup title. So because without them it wouldn't have been simply possible for us to achieve such an amazing result here. As for the final race, unfortunately I messed up my qualifying lap, especially on the last corner. But by starting at P5, we were also discussing about which strategy we should basically go with and also start with. And then, yeah, I think we chose the right strategy, and everything went well this evening. So I'm also truly happy for the outcome of it.
Well, you've firstly, hello, Mick. It's Jimmy. Good to talk to you again, mate. Hope you're doing well. It was very nice to see you and Igor back on track battling again. You've both been a little bit absent this year. Was it nice to be back racing against Igor again?
Well, it was. I think when I joined just ahead of him. No. I think he joined just ahead of me, but I overtook him after the pit lane. But then I realized that with him having the newer medium tires and me having, let's say, the worn soft tires, I realized that he was basically much faster with that. So I tried to basically let him by and use the slipstream to basically him pulling me away, because I also saw that Nicolas also needed to pit as well. So I didn't want to lose that much time, and I just followed Igor's slipstream.
Well, Mick, congratulations to yourself and to Team Subaru. But that's not the only thing that you've won tonight, is it, Jimmy?
No, Mick, you've also been given special on a Michelin Driver of the Day. I'm not sure how many caps that is for you. You've got a collection at the moment. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty decent return for you, mate.
Well, I have to say thank you a lot. But in my opinion, it shouldn't just be me who should be giving the Driver of the Day, because my teammates like Daniel and Miyasono-san, they were also doing a fantastic job today. So I wished they could have basically got the same, let's say the Driver of the Day as well, because they also deserved it. Maybe even much more than I did. But again, yeah, thank you.
You can take turns wearing the hat, Mick, if you want. You can send it around.
Goodness me. Well, congratulations, and thank you as well to Baptiste Beauvoir, to Nicolas Roubillard, and of course to Mikael Hazal as well. Congratulations to Team BMW, to Team Subaru, our Manufacturer Series 2020 champions, and of course to Team Mercedes-Benz there as well. What a brilliant way to end the Manufacturer Series for 2020. Thank you to Steve Brown, to Julia Hardy, to Jimmy Broadbent alongside me, and thank you from myself, Tom Brooks, as well. Thank you to you at home for watching, and we'll see you for more action to come in the 2020 FIA GT Championships very soon.